Standing in line to see the show tonight, and there's a light on, heavy glow. By the way, I tried to say I'd be there, waiting for Danny the girl is singing songs to me beneath the marquee. Overload. Stick knife, car chop, con job, boot cut. Skin that flick, she's such a little DJ. Get that quick, my streets, but not the freeway. Turn that trick to make a little leeway. Beat that nick, but not the way that we play. Dog down, bloodbath, ribcage, soft tail. Standing in line to see the show tonight, and there's a light on, heavy glow. By the way, I tried to say I'd be there, waiting for. Blackjack, dope dick, pawn shop, quick pick. Kiss that dyke, I know you want the whole one. Not on strike, but I'm about to bow one. Bite that mic, I know you never stole one. Girls that like a story, so I told one. Salford, mainline, cashback, hot top. Standing in line to see the show tonight, and there's a light on, heavy glow. By the way, I tried to say I'd be there, waiting for Danny the girl is singing songs to me beneath the marquee. Oversold. By the way, I tried to say I'd be there, waiting for. Kissing in the mood, 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 kissing in the mood. Standing in line to see the show tonight, and there's a light on, heavy glow. By the way, I tried to say I'd be there, waiting for Danny the girl is singing songs to me beneath the marquee. Oversold. By the way, I tried to say I know you from before. Standing in line to see the show tonight, and there's a light on, heavy glow. By the way, I tried to say I'd be there, waiting for.
Hallo? So, ich sitze am neuen PC. Bedeutet potenziell, es könnte alles nicht gehen. Oder gehen, oder so. Ich muss alle OBS-Einstellungen, ich muss alles neu machen. Ich bin schon die ganze Zeit da machen. Als allererstes gehen wir in die Szene rein. Hier. Dann mache ich meine Musik aus. Muss eh alles passen. Dann mache ich Browser-Sound an. Und dann machen wir den Stream an. Ich habe den Soundbrowser ultra verstärkt, weil gestern die bei D4 ultra leise waren. Also wie laut ist das? Das wird schon drauf hier. Das wird glaube ich auch schon drauf. Können wir auch noch einstellen gleich. Sound so. Wie ist der Browser-Sound? Wie laut ist die Musik? Ultra laut? Wie laut bin ich im Vergleich zu dem Hintergrundmusik gerade? Ist zu laut im Gegensatz zu mir. Bin ich zu leise oder bin ich leiser wie sonst oder bin ich gleich laut ungefähr? So ganz grob. Ich brauche irgend so einen Anhaltspunkt quasi. Dann nehme ich nämlich mein Mikro als Anhaltspunkt. Der Sound ist derbe lauter. Okay, aber das heißt, ich bin normal laut. So. Dürfte deutlich leiser sein. Ah, und noch hi an den YouTube-Chat. YouTube muss ich auch alles neu machen. Du hast bei YouTube auch Musik zu laufen im Startbild. Oh, hatte ich eben Musik laufen? Und dann wird das Wort gesperrt gleich. Ja, das sind die Soundquellen. Habe ich im normalen VOD auch Sound gehabt? Und Lucky, verdammt nochmal, jetzt sind ja natürlich, ich habe keine Zeit dafür. Verdammt nochmal. Nein. Nein, Lucky, nein. So, komm. Gut. Lad doch. Junge, lad doch die Scheiße. Gut. Ich muss unbedingt nachchecken oder so, ob das Switch-VOD nicht Dings hat. Bei YouTube wird nur das Dings gesperrt. Das Video. Bei Twitch gibt es direkt einen Strike. Wenn da Musik im Wort ist, aber das ist keine Musik im Wort. Okay, gut. Ich weiß nicht, warum YouTube das hat, weil eigentlich habe ich das richtig eingestellt. Hoffe ich. Den geteilten Encoder wie OBS verwenden. Ah, warte. Das darf ich bei Sound nicht machen. Sound muss ich... Muss genau die 2 haben. Okay. Gut. Ich mache jetzt kurz Musik an. Sagt mal auf YouTube, ob ihr die Musik hört. Oder ob ich nochmal neu starten muss auf YouTube. Ja, hört ihr? Also, muss ich neu starten. Bin gleich wieder da. So, Start und Stopp. Ging das bei YouTube? Ich weiß nicht, ob eigentlich da... Ah ja, doch, ging. Habt ihr jetzt was gehört auf YouTube? Ne, jetzt hört nichts mehr. Gut. Ja, das ist immer wichtig, weil das ist das Schlimmste oder so. Das stresst mich extrem, weil läufen da 10 Sekunden Musik, Copyright Strike. So. Da ist eine Schraube in meinem Essen gewesen. War jetzt hier bei den Pommes dabei und das ist die vom Airfryer abgefallen. Ja, es ging nur um die Musik. Musik darf auf YouTube nicht laufen. Nur auf Twitch. Ich darf jetzt noch 1 Million andere Sachen anstellen, bevor das geht. Danke für dein Video zu Detailstart. Kommen gleich die Paladin-Notes. Der YouTube-Chat ist so ultra klein. Ich würde an dem Bildschirm gerne ein bisschen ranzoomen. Oh Gott, falscher Bildschirm, scheiße. Ja, das kann ich YouTube-Chat besser lesen. Na, vielleicht nicht ganz 175, vielleicht 150. Achso, ich muss jetzt alles einstellen hier. Okay, gut. Dann YouTube-Chat lesen. Ihr hört immer noch gar keinen Browser-Sound wieder, gell? So. Wie sieht es mit dem Stream aus? Hört das YouTube und Twitch? Die Musik von dem Dings. Von dem Stream. Und wie laut ist die? Hört man nichts, oder wie? Okay, da hört man es wohl nicht. Ein bisschen komisch. War alles gut, aber lässt sich nachher erst wieder gehen. Eben nur, dass bei beiden Audioquellen draußen, weil ich gerade wieder was umgestellt habe in Audioquellen. Aber ja, beide Chats sagen auf die Stimmen warten, aber ich will nur, dass man es überhaupt hört. Ja, wenn man die Streammusik von GT hört, dann hört man die Browserquelle. Das ist das Wichtige. Ich wollte jetzt nur, dass das steht für den Stream. Ich muss gleich noch die Spiele einstellen. Nach dem Stream PoE 2, D3, D4, D2. Spotify-Musik. Discord auch noch. Um bei jemandem im Discord einen Discord-Lautstärke einzustellen. Dann machen wir nach dem Stream. Und dann darf ich auch die Steuerung in allen Spielen neu machen. Ich weiß nicht, wie lange ich da bin. Naja, das wollte ich jetzt nach dem Stream machen. Mit 7 Minuten geht das Ding hier los. Und wir können auch versuchen, noch schnell das zu machen, aber 7 Minuten. Hallo? Oh ja, ich höre dich auch. Hallo, hallo? Jetzt muss ich gucken. Ja, man hört dich wahrscheinlich im Stream nicht, oder? Sag mal was. Ja. Sich hier Discord hinzufügen. Wo ist denn Discord? Sag nochmal was.
Test, 3, 2, 9, 5, 4. Ah, ich höre mich im Discord im Stream, ja.
Ist Final irgendwie extrem laut oder so? Oder extrem leise im Vergleich zu mir? Also, oder ich weiß nicht, ob du dich selber so hörst und mich im Vergleich.
Warte mal, sag mal nix. Test. Also ich höre mich im Stream ein bisschen leise, also, aber ja, weiß ich nicht. Erstmal so ein, dass du mich im Discord am besten hörst und nicht im Stream.
Ich höre dich auf jeden Fall.
Okay,
Ich höre ich auf einer normalen Lautstärke.
Wenn er schreibt er auch, das reicht.
Okay. Da muss man jeder nochmal jede Person wahrscheinlich einzeln einstellen. Weil mich dann andere Leute mich dann entscheiden werden. Oder irgendwelche Leute, die flüstern nur fühlt. Kannst du ganz kurz rausgehen und wieder reingehen in den Channel?
Ja. Ja.
Ah, interessant. Ich hab gar keinen Sound, wenn jemand bei mir in den Channel reinkommt. Muss man das bei Discord irgendwo anmachen? Weil auch ich höre, auch wenn ich mich mute und unmute, das höre ich auch nicht.
Und dann hast du die Sounds zum Discord ausgestellt.
Ja, irgendwie die Benachrichtigungssounds sind nicht an. Streamer-Modus. Oh. Ah ja, wie macht man das nochmal aus? Das ist sehr wahrscheinlich, ja. Ah, da, Streamer-Modus. Ausmachen. Ah, jetzt höre ich auch, wenn ich mich mute. Die Frage, hört ihr das im Stream jetzt auch? Ah ja, der Balken steigt aus. Hört man im Stream. Und dafür gab es eigentlich normalerweise eine extra Soundquelle. Naja, dann hört man das halt.
Ich glaube, Discord ist ja nicht, dass dauernd einer rein und rausgeht und nervt, ja. Aber bei Discord, ey, da hast du alles mitgekriegt, ey. Es sind permanent Leute rein, haben irgendwelche Musik abgespielt, wieder ausgegangen. Typ WoW-Killer, ey. Kiddies, ey. Ja, da würde ich mal die Heißluftfritteuse untersuchen, wenn du da vorne eine Schraube im Essen hast von der Fritteuse. So toll ist das auch nicht, dass die auseinanderfällt.
Nennen wir jetzt von der Fritteuse oder beim Essen, aber das gehe ich erstmal immer weniger von aus eigentlich.
Ich glaube euch, dass da eine Schraube in den Pommes mit drin war. Aber schon eher die war von der Fritteuse. Du hast das alles gesehen, was ich dir bei WhatsApp geschickt hatte, ja, gell?
Mhm. Also jetzt am Ende, ja, so halb, weil ich halt die ganze Zeit am Sachen hier basteln war, dass überhaupt der Stream läuft. Mhm. Ja, und jetzt geht gleich der Stream los, das heißt mit mir jedem Minuten. Und ja. Und bring noch meinen Teller weg. Also gut.
Jo.
Na, hört sich dann.
Bis später.
Ah, so. Okay. Halbwegs. Ah, Gott, oh Gott. Bei dieser Tastatur hier, da sind so Seitentasten und ich muss sie unbedingt auf... Die dürfen nichts machen. Die dürfen gar nichts machen. Die muss ich so unbedingt umlegen. Das ist so ganz, ganz, ganz schlimm, ey. Boah. Okay. Gut. Soweit läuft alles. Ist der Chatbot eigentlich an? Ja, der Chatbot ist auch an. Vielen Dank für den Resubway-Länder. Dankeschön. Und generell hallo an alle. Ich kann mich auf Content ein bisschen gestern den DP-Stream und auch jetzt hier bisher noch nicht wirklich konzentrieren, weil ich die ganze Zeit nur am Umbauen bin wegen dem neuen PC. Das ist alles sehr stressig und hier neben wurden jetzt noch Schränke durch die Gegend geschoben und so. Ja, ich bin sehr gestresst gerade irgendwie. Ich bin extrem gestresst. Ich versuche jetzt so ein bisschen runterzukommen während des Streams. Den CO2 Google Sheet mittlerweile etwas Liebe bekommen? Nee, gar nicht. Da steht nichts drin, das ist weiß.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers, Game Director on Path of Exile 2, and welcome to
Der Ton ist
GGG
versetzt.
Live. Today we're going to show you an exclusive reveal for what's coming next for Path of Exile 2. Twitch drops
Ist es
are
bei allen
enabled
so?
on today's live stream, so you'll be able to claim your Verdant Wilds dodge roll effect by following the instructions below. Now today, it's finally time to show off a new class that we know everyone in the community's been waiting for. So let's roll the trailer for Path of Exile 2, The Last of the Druids.
Ich hoffe, das ist nicht nur bei mir so. Ist es nur bei mir so?
Well, well. What have we got here then?
You lost, fella?
Hey, we're talking to you.
I asked you a question.
What's wrong with him?
Ah, he's lost his bloody mind.
Ist der Ton bei allen Leuten versetzt oder ist er nur bei mir versetzt? Muss ich die Seite neu laden oder bringt das nichts? Aber bei Jonathan eben hat man das extrem gesehen.
I will find you, Eve.
Now, as you can see, the Druid is a shape-shifting elemental spellcaster. After his fellow Druids were destroyed by the King in the Mists, the Druid lost his humanity in the forests of Ogham, where he wandered for years as a beast. Now, finally reawakened, he's determined to find his lost wife and regain his humanity. The Druid has been one of the hardest classes for us to design. As well as having human spells, he has 3 animal forms, and we wanted to make sure that there were interesting combos between all of them. The Druid is our first hybrid and intelligence class. That means he needs to have the ability to use spells and attacks. As a human, the Druid typically uses magical staves to harness the powers of the earth and the natural world. One of the first skills you will learn is the ability to create small volcanoes from the earth. This skill spits out balls of magma at your enemies, and will continue to do so for some time. While the volcano is active, turn into an animal and wade into melee range. Many of the skills you use as a human last for a significant period of time, giving you a good chance to turn into an animal
Also hier
and
wie
rage out.
D2-Spell, Volcano.
But how do you turn into an animal, you
Dann
may
habe ich jetzt
ask?
die 2 Letter
Well, the
gespielt.
answer is a new weapon type that druids use, animal talismans.
Mojo.
When you equip an animal talisman, you can choose which animal form you would like the talisman to represent. Depending on what you choose, you'll be given that animal's basic attack as a new skill to equip. For a bear, that's maul. To turn into a bear, simply use the skill. Your character will instantly transform into a bear and attack. If you want to change back to a human, just cast a spell. You will instantly swap back and cast it. We wanted to make sure that swapping between forms was seamless and immediate. Changing forms should be something that you do without even thinking about it all the time in battle. In order to allow for hybrid melee and caster gameplay, most of the skills you use in your human form last for some time and aid your animal skills in some way. The volcano we used earlier will emit more molten balls whenever you hit it with a slam, making it perfect for use with your bear form's furious slam. While in bear form, many of your abilities use rage. There are a lot of ways to generate rage, but the easiest one is simply smash your enemies with maul. Once you see the runes on your back glowing, it means you have enough rage to do a much more devastating version of your furious slam. Your bear form can also go on a rampage, stomping the ground as you demolish your foes.
Das haben wir schon mal gesehen.
The more rage you have, the longer the rampage lasts, and doing it over a volcano makes it even better.
Oh, ist dann so wie mit Fischer. Naja.
As you consume rage, your bear form will generate endurance charges, and these can be used with skills like Ferocious Roar. Ferocious Roar is a war cry that empowers your subsequent attacks to break your opponent's armor. The more endurance charges you have when you use it, the more empowered attacks you will gain. But Ferocious Roar has another special feature too. It's a meta gem that allows you to socket any Warcry gem from another class into it, giving you the ability to use these skills as a bear. Use the Warrior's Infernal Cry skill to make your enemies explode. Or use Seismic Cry to stun your enemies and double up the number of slams you do. You can even use it with Ancestral Call, a skill that turns you into the fire god Khal. Ever wondered what the Karui
mit
god of
Rüstung.
war would look like if he was a bear? Well, wait no longer. Finally, build up enough rage and you can use one of the bear's ultimate abilities, Walking Calamity. This skill summons a storm of fire around you for some time, while generating even more rage to power your other abilities. A true bearpocalypse. Now the bear is known for being a slower and more lumbering animal, with slower attacks and heavy slams. But what if you want to turn into something a little more nimble? Well, let's check out the second animal form for the druid, wolf form. For the wolf form, we wanted to go fast and furious. Even just the wolf's basic attack will leap forward and rake his foes. After attacking, the wolf stands up on 2 legs, but after running for a short time, he goes back on all 4s, allowing to move more quickly between packs of enemies. The wolf has a lot of cold attacks based on his association with the moon, and the first of these is Lunar Assault. It's great for freezing your enemies in place. After they're frozen, use your basic rake attack to knock shards of ice off your enemies, which land on the ground nearby and explode. If you want to get into battle quickly, you can use your pounce attack. This skill leaps at a target and applies a mark to them. Killing the marked enemy will summon a wolfman into your side, allowing them to fight with you. Mark and kill as many enemies as you can to build up a sizable pack. While an enemy is marked, your wolves will prioritize that target and do more damage the more wolves you have, so make sure you keep your pack strong. Now, one problem you might run into is your wolf pack dying in boss fights. You often don't have any enemies that you can mark and kill in order to regenerate your pack. To deal with this problem, you can use Cross Slash. Cross Slash jumps backwards and does a vicious double slash. Any marks on your target explode and triggers their abilities. This allows you to pounce to mark an enemy and then summon a wolf even without killing it. Cross Slash also has another feature though. Remember those ice fragments from before? Well, Cross Slash will propel any ice shards on the ground towards its central target. First, freeze your enemies with Lunar Assault. Then rake them to create as many ice fragments as you can. Then follow up with Cross Slash to generate a field of icy explosions to obliterate your enemies. If they're still alive after that, your pack of wolves can finish them off. Just like with the Bear's Raw skill earlier that allows you to use skills from other classes, Pounce is also a meta gem that you can socket Mark skills from other classes into. So for example, you might want to try adding Freezing Mark from the Monk to Pounce. After pouncing at an enemy, cross slash to explode the mark and gain extra cold damage for a time. The Wolf has many other ways to go all in on cold though. Using the Arctic Howl Warcry will allow you to add cold damage and chilled ground to any slam, while buffing your pack of wolves as well. You can also use it to freeze enemies that are close to being frozen, making it much faster to use your other combos. Finally, the Wolf also has the ability to call down the power of the moon to transform into an Arctic werewolf with Lunar Blessing. In this form, you move and attack more quickly and deal extra cold damage. Consuming Rage will extend the duration of your Arctic Wolf form, so you could try a hybrid bear and wolf build if you want to utilize the skill to its full effect. Alright, let's talk about the third form available to the Druid, and I think it's a cool one, the Wyvern. The Wyvern has a number of long-range breath abilities, but that doesn't mean you can't get into melee range when you want to. The basic attack of the Wyvern is Rend. Jump forward into combat and slash your enemies with your lethal talons. If they're close to being stunned, you can blow them off balance with a blast from your wings, causing an explosion of damage. After the battle though, it's time to feed. Devour the corpses of monsters to create power charges, and this is when the Wyvern's abilities really come online. When using Rend, you can consume a power charge to charge up your wings with lightning. Not only does this do a bunch of damage, but it allows you to turn this melee skill into a much larger AoE attack.
Oh, lightning, okay.
Once your wings are charged, your Wing Blast will also do lightning
Das
explosions
macht jetzt
for even more
Feuerdamage,
damage.
oder?
If your enemies are close to death, no need to wait for them to actually die. When you see this blue marker, just devour them alive. Fresh meat is much tastier after all.
Ah, das sind
Alright,
die
so those are
Coding-Fleisch.
some melee options. But how about range? Well, you wouldn't be much of a dragon if you couldn't breathe fire after all. Rolling Magma is the first of the Wyvern's breath attacks. Spit balls of fire that bounce along the
Rolling
ground.
Magma, kommt mir wie bekannt
These
vor.
balls will trigger
Woher kennt man
volcanoes
das
as
doch?
well, so it's a good idea to cast one as a human right before you start spitting.
Ich habe mein Rolling Magma Bild gespielt in
But that's
PoE
not all you
1.
can spit. You have something a little nastier in that gullet of yours. Spitting a barrage of oil at your enemies will cover them in a viscous sludge that makes them easier to ignite.
Ah.
If you have power charges though, plant your wings in the ground and vomit a barrage of lightning-infused projectiles. The more power charges you have, the longer you can do this for. But make sure you keep your foes at range. You're vulnerable to melee attacks while channeling this skill. In order to help with that, let's take a quick diversion back to some of your human abilities. As a Druid of Scoth, you have the ability to harness the power of nature to create entangling vines to slow down your enemies. Another of nature's punishments is the thunderstorm. Creating one of these will create periodic strikes of lightning from the sky, and will also make your enemies wet. Why is that useful? Well, of course, things that are wet are easier to shock. Use it with lightning damage from your Wyvern form to enhance your damage.
Jetzt einfach regnen.
Making things wet also makes them easier to freeze, so it works nicely with your wolf form as well. And you know what else likes water? Plants. Water your plants to give them various extra abilities. Use Lightning Storm with Entangle to make them last longer, and attach more vines to each enemy, slowing them further. Summon Thrashing Vines to slam at your enemies for a time. Any that are created in water will be larger and deal more damage. Now then, with our enemies sufficiently subdued with our plants, time to really lay into them with our lightning-infused barrage. Now, this last Wyvern ability is just ridiculous, but we felt like we had to do it. Use Flame Breath to take to the skies and rain down a stream of fire on your enemies. You have wings, so we have to take full advantage of them after all. So fly around and burn in it. Now there are a few other skills we didn't cover, but there's one in particular that I think will open up a lot of builds. Spell Totems. Spell Totems are meta gems that let you create a totem that will automatically cast any spell in the game for a time. In order to create one, you will need to spend 3 endurance or 3 power charges. You could use them to throw fireballs, summon comets, or shower the area in lightning. Really, the options are kind of endless. Your bear form can easily generate endurance charges by consuming rage, and your wyvern form can easily create power charges by eating corpses. so it's pretty easy for the druid to get the charges needed. But they're also available from quite a few other places as well. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of different spellcaster classes thinking about how best to take advantage of these. Now, of course, along with a new class comes a bunch of new support gems. We've added over 30 new supports throughout the game, but I'll show you a few of the cooler ones here. Fan the Flames can be added to any wind skill to spread fire from one ignited enemy to the other enemies behind them. It's great for the Wyvern's Wing Blast. But you can also use it on many other classes with wind skills, like the Twisters on the Huntress, or the Monk's Staggering Palm Projectiles.
Oh, okay.
Accelerated Growth causes extra explosive plants to erupt from the ground whenever you grow plants with rain.
Da wachsen Blumen.
And Advancing Storm changes storm skills like your Thunderstorm or Tornado to move across the battlefield. It's great for watering plants en masse, or to turn tornadoes into a real disaster by sucking up multiple ground effects as they travel along.
Ooh.
And the Sorceress might like to use it with Firestorm as well. Echoing Cry causes your Warcry skills to echo. They will repeat a couple more times with a delay after you use them, giving you more empowered attacks. Use it for the Druid's animal form Warcries, or on the Warrior for a nice power boost.
Ja, das habe ich gerade überlegt. Ist das der Warrior eigentlich? Bringt das viel?
Grounding Shocks causes monsters you shock to turn into living Tesla coils, arcing lightning to nearby enemies. You could use it with your empowered wings for an extra damage boost, but it's also great with any other shocking skill. Try it out with Lightning Spear. It obviously needed
Oder mit Lightning Arrow.
There's a whole pile more, but we'll leave those for you to discover.
Mit eurem Lightning Arrow.
Now, with the new class comes new Ascendancy classes. The Druid will have 2 options for now, with a third being released later. The first class is the Shaman. The Shaman channels nature's elemental fury and can harness rage as a spellcaster, unifying his animalistic and magical tendencies. By allocating Druidic Champion, you gain spell damage the angrier you are, and with Furious Wellspring, you generate rage continuously and can spend it to empower your spells. With the knowledge of the Asmerian Magi, the Shaman can harness untapped power from runes and idols. After allocating Wisdom of the Magi, you will notice that all runes and idols have extra mods only available to the Shaman.
So Runen.
These new mods unlock countless new possibilities for enhancing your build.
Muss man jetzt mal gucken, was da alles gibt
You
überhaupt
can
dann.
also allocate Bringer of the Apocalypse, allowing you to become a walking natural disaster. After dealing enough
Der
elemental
fordert so
damage,
eine Great Rune of
storms
Electricity
of
oder
all
sowas. Mit kann
elements
auch
rain
irgendwas.
around you,
Die
destroying
vom
all who
Megalieden.
would face nature's fury. There are other abilities for the Shaman, but I'll just show a few from each class for now. The other Druid Ascendancy is the Oracle. The Oracle perfected the power of foresight and utilizes this in combat to gain massive advantage. When taking Fateful Vision, you will see visions of your future self using specific skills. If you decide to follow this path by using the skill yourself, it will do significantly more damage.
Klingt so ein bisschen wie mit Chronomancer halt.
And with converging paths, at a critical
jetzt nicht, ob
moment
das
in
so geil
battle
ist.
when a monster is vulnerable to freeze, stun or electrocution, the Oracle can use Moment of Vulnerability to see a vision of the enemy's future and then merge it with the current timeline, allowing him to deal damage to both.
Okay, bei Bossen ist es natürlich praktisch, ja.
And one of my favorites, when you first become an Oracle, you'll notice over 130 new extra passives
Oh Gott.
appear in the Druid section of the tree. By
Leben?
allocating the Unseen Path,
Für den Warrior so
you
ein
use your
bisschen von
power
unten.
of foresight to learn from alternate futures and gain skills that would otherwise be unavailable to you. For example, self-sacrificing allows you to be able to summon more minions by reducing the spirit costs, with the trade-off of making your reservation skills cost more spirit. Or Corruption Endures, which allows oracles to have a small chance to avoid death. Both the Druid Ascendancies offer interesting and unique ways to gain modifiers that no other classes can get, so we're expecting a huge variety of build possibilities from these. Now there are unique talismans for the Druid to use as well. We won't spoil all of them, but this one was particularly cool. Fury of the King turns your bear form into a fire demon, converting most of your damage to fire. As a demon, you can also
das
use
ist ein
Molten
Beast.
Crash, a jumping slam attack that leaves
Boah.
fishes around you. This
Ah,
unique
ja,
also
das ist ein
continuously
Fischerbild.
grants glory, allowing you to use your ultimate
Das
abilities
sieht,
more
das sieht
easily.
schon sehr geil aus.
Now, of course, the Druid isn't the only thing we're adding to 040.
Fischer,
We still have a bunch
Fischer
more to
Warrior
show.
2.0.
Every new release, we create a new league with new mechanics, new pinnacle bosses, and with a new story to tell. And this time is no exception. So let's roll the trailer for the Fate of the Vaal.
Oh,
The palace of Queen Atziri. It is a ruin, but in the dark, machines still churn.
Ball Factory.
The temple has many functions, and with it, a chance to
Oh,
save the
verrücktes
Val,
Labyrinth.
a gateway through time.
Das sah cool aus.
Travel into the past,
Ja,
again
super.
and again. Alter the temple, uncover its secrets.
Sieht nach einem lustigen Minispielchen aus. Ich frage, wie komplex das
Be
ist.
rewarded for your sacrifice. And
So
somewhere
ein Ding war Alva drin.
in the deepest chamber, my queen awaits.
Ein neuer Boss natürlich, ja. Aber das sind ja alles bekannte Bosse gewesen.
Hear me. The beast cannot give you what you desire.
You may have studied it, Doriani, but you do not know it like I do. It adores me. Come now, give unto me your desire. At last, fulfill my soul.
Ist das was es in PoE 1 schon gibt?
Hi, I'm Mark Roberts, Game Director on Path of Exile. In the
Oder
fate of the Val League, you will find remnants of the
Das ist
ancient
komplett neu.
Val civilization scattered throughout Rayclast. They seem to attract nearby creatures and affect them strangely. After killing them, the remnant appears
Ja,
to
wie kommt
gain
man
some
dahin?
amount of power, but not enough to fully activate it. It seems you will need to find 5 more of these arcane devices, and
bisschen
sacrifice the
Ritual-mäßig?
monsters you find there to fully activate one. But things don't always go to plan. These devices are old, and sometimes infected by corruption. Twisted versions of ancient Val may emerge, and sometimes even stronger foes. On fully activating one of the devices, you finally discover its true purpose. A
Kann man da
portal
reingehen?
opens and takes you deep underground to a lost temple, once the home of Atziri, Queen of the Val.
Ja.
What treasures could still be inside? I think you're gonna want to find out.
Das ist ein Waypoint.
In front of the entrance is a console of some kind, and on activating it, you can see a map of the temple.
Da.
Atziri's personal chambers are on the far side. But how could anyone get there? There are disconnected rooms, and the layout doesn't seem to make sense. And that's when you realize the purpose of the ancient devices scattered through Rayclast. The temple is powered by sacrifice, and this energy can be used to modify the very structure of the temple itself. Each time you run the temple, you will be given 6 rooms that you can place,
Ah, das war, wie viele
allowing
Dinge
you
kann
to
man da
craft your
setzen?
own dungeon to explore.
Man geht immer verschieden jetzt so aus.
Place
Dann,
paths to link up the dungeon, and place rooms beside them full of precious loot.
ja, setzt man sich auch so selber hin, quasi seinen Loot.
After you
Bei
are
der
happy with your
Belohnung.
choices, open the temple and discover the results of your efforts.
Okay.
Each room contains different challenges along with its
Bastelschule.
rewards.
Was
On
ist denn
entering a
Dungeon
room,
zusammen?
the doors will slam shut behind you, and you will need to face the encounter within. But choose wisely. It's important where you place the rooms to get maximum returns. For example, when placing a commander, you could just place it anywhere along an existing
Ein Boss,
path.
oder? Wahrscheinlich.
But a much better strategy is to place it next to a garrison of troops for him to command.
Oh, kriegt der Level dazu? Plus 2 Level oder so?
With better leadership, the garrison will level up, making the monsters harder, but also more
Ja.
rewarding.
Mehr XP, mehr Loot.
Different rooms have different
Aber auch schwerer.
requirements for leveling up. For example, if you want to fully level up a smithy, you
Man
will
kann's
need
vielleicht
to
untereinander
supply it with
machen.
golems from an adjacent golem works, and hook up a generator
Was?
to the power network to supply it with
Ja,
power.
noch einen Generator dran
After
machen, für
doing
das
so,
Power Network.
the golems will be powered up,
Ah, das sind
making them
diese,
much more dangerous.
das sind diese roten Linien immer auf dem Boden.
You don't need to memorize what interacts with what. When selecting a room, you will be shown the locations that will make other rooms level up, and exactly what effect it will have on the
okay.
temple.
Ja, kann man bestimmt auch so plus 2 oder so machen, wenn der an
After running
2
the temple,
andockt.
a a few of the rooms will destabilize and be
Nochmal
removed.
plus Level.
It will be up to you to rebuild the temple, adding 6 more rooms each time you come back, making the temple larger and larger and larger.
Irgendwann hat man aber alles.
So, that's the basic
man durch damit,
functionality
oder?
of the temple. But there is a lot more. Once Doriani finds out about your travels to
Kann
Liraval,
wahrscheinlich einmal dann
he will
resetten oder so.
attempt to persuade you to take on a new mission.
Ja.
The temple entrance contains a prototype of the time portal device. It will be able to take you back in time, but only to one specific point. Right before Itzeri triggered the cataclysm that destroyed the Val. He requests that you go back and attempt to stop Itzeri to prevent the Val from ever being destroyed.
Die hat die destroyed. Hat die Explosion ausgelöst quasi. Bitte.
Itzeri is on the far side of the temple,
Sehr geiles
so you will
Portal.
need to expand the temple significantly to get to her.
Erzählt
And
Chamber
even
Tier
worse,
1.
her chambers can only be unlocked by a room that isn't currently accessible to you. In order to deal with that, you are going to need to visit the architect of the temple.
Ja, das ist in der Mitte da.
To get
Okay.
to him, you will need to place path rooms. But while doing so, you will probably want to exploit some of the Val technology only available in the past. Once you can travel into the past, a whole new set of rooms are available to you, and they have some pretty insane rewards.
Okay.
At level 1, the corruption chamber can be used to corrupt a single item.
Aber Corrupten for free? Ja, so wie man es quasi kennt aus seinem Leben, ne?
But placing it next to a thaumaturge to run the place,
Ja, was kann man dann
and a
machen?
sacrificial chamber to provide soul energy, you'll
Oh.
be able to level it up. And
Und dann?
it's worth it. Because once you get the room to level 3, there are some very nice rewards to be had.
Keine negativen Corruption-Sachen?
In a level 3 corruption chamber,
Oder so?
you will find this mysterious device.
Ja.
It has a slot to place an item, and it only accepts items that are already corrupted. What
Oh.
will happen to them?
Nochmal Corrupten?
Well, normally once an item is corrupted, you can't modify it any further. But this device allows you
Double
to corrupt your
corrupt?
item a second time, adding
Double
another
corrupten.
enchantment.
Uiuiui.
This has the capability to craft some very powerful items indeed.
Noch ein Sockel
But
und noch ein
be
Sockel.
warned, the Val are all about taking risks in the pursuit
Ja.
of power. There is a 50% chance that the item will be destroyed.
Destroyed komplett. Ah, okay, das ist natürlich... Also beim Corrupten kann ja schon scheiße passieren, aber es kann auch
Each room
50%
has its
Chance,
own interesting
dass es kaputt
mechanics
geht.
and rewards when it levels up.
50%.
Many of them contain bosses to fight, special drops, and in many cases, new crafting opportunities.
Gem Corruptor.
For example, a level 3 alchemy lab has a nasty Val construct.
Der hat
to
auch
fight,
einen Gem nochmal
but
corrupted,
if you
oder?
can defeat it,
Ah, der schon
you can
corrupted
find
war.
new corrupted soul cores. Like Guatalizi's thesis,
Mal
which on
live
boots allows you to sacrifice your life to run faster. Or Sita Qualottl's thesis, which on gloves will revive one of your minions whenever an offering expires.
Das andere sah gerade gut interessant, also ich konnte es aber nicht genau lesen.
Get a sacrificial chamber to level 3, and you will need to face a highborn priest of sacrifice. Defeat
Oh, die
him
kennen wir.
to be able
Die
to
Bluetooth
further
sind.
corrupt a Val unique, modifying it
Der
in
Priest.
unpredictable ways. One of the mods of this unique will be removed and replaced with another random mod.
Oh, da werde ich meine Roller muss reinlegen, habe ich gehört.
For example, this soul mantle. It gives you an additional totem, but lowers your totem's life and curses you when they die.
Natürlich, negatives
By
Stats
using the
entfernen.
machine, this could result in a terrible item if you remove the good mod, but also some amazing items if you replace the downside.
Stimmt, es gibt ja viele, die so eine übelste Downside haben mit
Now,
vielen Items.
one extra thing to mention about these Val crafting machines. You don't have to take the items you want to craft into the temple. If you don't have the item you want to craft with you at the time, then clicking this button will allow you to create a currency item instead, allowing you to do the craft later or trade it if you want.
Ach so, okay, gut.
Now there are all sorts
Weil
of
man will ja nicht so
interesting
on the
rooms you can
fly immer
find
nichts
in
so
the
Tricks
temple.
machen, oder?
But the last one I want to show you today is the Flesh Surgeon. A Val Flesh Surgeon can be leveled up by placing him next to a high-level synth flesh lab.
Ja, mhm. Unit monsters have 20%
But
increased
be careful.
effectiveness.
the flesh surgeon has some rather unpleasant experiments in his personal lab. Afterwards, you might notice the surgery table just sitting there. The Varl are great at crafting items. Why not do some crafting on yourself? After laying down, you'll be asked which
Permanent
limb
buffs?
you'd like to replace. Left arm, perhaps your right leg.
Ja.
Each
Okay.
limb can get a different set of random bonuses, so choose wisely.
Bisschen Movement Speed
After
oder so?
getting up from the table,
Bei den
try
Schuhen?
out your new limb.
Oh
It seems
Gott.
to work fine, and even perform better than your normal one. Now, there is just one thing with replacing body parts. If you die and are resurrected, your body will return to its
Oh
natural state.
nein, oh scheiße.
You might need to return to the Varl surgeons if you want another robot arm, and
Oh,
maybe get a better one.
dann will
next
man noch
time.
weniger sterben. Scheiße.
Some rooms, like the Commander, can give you a new type of reward.
Hat die Leute
Medallions
Vorteil.
that can be used to manipulate the temple in other ways. Using a Latals medallion will allow you to artificially boost a room,
Einfach Level
even if it
boosten.
doesn't meet the normal requirements to level up.
Okay.
And a Huatalotli's
Kann man die Bosse
medallion
boosten oder
will
so?
stop rooms from destabilizing when you complete a temple, allowing you to guarantee getting a reward a second time. Great if you want to stock up on double corrupts. Now, with all that aside, time to face the Architect, and you will be in for a fight.
Ui.
Once defeated, you will find another console that can be used to modify the temple. But this one is special. It allows you to place new types of rooms with specific rewards.
Da, ja, da gibt's Tablets.
There
Da
are
oben.
rooms with specific uniques,
Okay.
special runes, and currency. But also a few other, more niche crafting experiments.
Destroying equipment
Like
and
this
returning
one,
it, any
that can
augment to the
extract the
socket
socket
in it.
balls back out of an item,
Ah.
at the cost of destroying it.
Hm. Da macht man
Now,
ja nicht wirklich viel.
something really important is every league we release a significant amount of content for the in-game. In order to make sure that the Fate of the Veil works well for late-game players, we've added many mechanics to make sure that you can scale the difficulty and rewards to match.
Okay.
Getting some rooms to level 3 adds extra mods to the entire dungeon, and these stack with each other. So in endgame, when you can get some really big temples, you can generate a challenge that can even match the strongest of characters. We also start to introduce ways to store up energy for the temple, allowing you to save up many runs so you can do them later at your leisure, and not interrupt your mapping too often.
Ja, das habe ich mir auch nicht gedacht, also so,
Now
das ist
in
halt immer
each
Snap ziemlich
league,
unterbrechen
it's
wird normal.
important that we have a new pinnacle boss to test your character's might. In the Fate of the Varl, you will get to face Adzeri while she was at the peak of her power. One of the rewards you will gain by defeating the Architect is the ability to place the Royal Access Chamber. Once connected to your temple, you can visit it to finally reach the Queen of the Varl herself. This fight takes place at a critical moment in history, right as Adzeri communes with the beast's power and takes her true corrupted form. Now, we are not going to show you the whole fight, but we will tempt you with one of the rewards. This is Adzeri's rule. This staff gives additional levels to all of your corrupted gems and lets you trade life for extra damage. But in addition to that, while using the staff, mirrors of refraction will constantly appear on the battlefield. Any projectile you fire at these will split into a nova, and they can chain from one to the other. So, that's the Fate of the Varl League. But
Okay.
we are also bringing the previous league, Rise of the Abyssal, into the core
Ja.
game, along with a few changes.
Interessant. Mhm.
Now, for those of you who haven't seen what happens when a league is over, it's important to understand that you will not be seeing abysses in every area anymore.
Ja, zum Glück.
Rise of the Abyssal is
Sind wir alle
now
froh.
one of the league mechanics that can show up randomly in endgame. If you want to specialize in running abysses, there is now a tablet that will allow you
ja.
to add them to any map you run.
Das Tablet.
You can also craft the tablet to add abyss-specific mods to enhance how they function. Now that
Fancy.
Abyss is core, it
Oh.
also needs its own
Ja.
Atlas tree.
Abyss
You can
Atlas
gain
Tree.
your first points by completing an Abyss.
Ja. Dann Kulemak und so
But
besiegen
there are
halt.
more available for doing depths
Ja,
and killing certain bosses.
ja.
And there are a
Deepest Void
bunch
und
of
so.
different options.
Deepest Void.
You might just want more monsters and bosses. But you can also make finishing an abyss have a chance to overrun a nearby map with the abyssal. Or make your waystone modifiers also apply to abyssal depths. You could
Oh,
specialize
das
in the
ist sehr
interaction
gut,
with
weil
other
nochmal mehr Level
leagues,
und da.
or specialize in a specific abyssal faction. One of the important elements that we have heard loud and clear is that needing to do abyss crafting on waystones is quite annoying. So, we have removed that.
Habe ich locker
In
keine
fact, we have removed
fünfmal gemacht
instilling
nur.
from waystones as well. This mechanic felt mandatory on maps.
Oh,
because it boosted the value
endlich!
of all
Die
other
Leute
content,
mit ihren
but it
permanenten
was both
hässlichen
annoying
Filter.
to do and
Ja.
resulted in a lot of visual clutter.
Ja,
Instead,
keine grauen
we are
Maps mehr.
bringing back some of that power on tablets, which you don't need to craft nearly as often, since they last for 10 maps each. Once you defeat the Arbiter of Ash, you will be able to upgrade tablets to a rare with 4 mods using regular currency.
Okay.
Even this isn't enough to fully bring back the power you could have gotten from instilling, so we have also buffed the bonuses that tablets give. Going forward, we're not going to be adding any more crafting directly to waystones outside of the basic currency, because it adds too much micromanagement. But on that note, Fate of the Veil does bring the
Oder
ability to
78 mit dem
corrupt your
XP.
tablets, hoping to get one of many different random outcomes. Now, with regard to Delirium Fog, even though you shouldn't have to have it on every map anymore, we still did want to make it less visually annoying.
Oh, das ist natürlich so
Delirium
ein
Fog has been
Nebel.
toned
Das
down
sieht viel cooler
significantly,
aus.
so you won't feel
Sieht
like you're just
deutlich
playing
geiler
in a
aus, so.
sea of grey.
Ja.
Another big source of problems in the endgame is the feeling of getting overwhelmed with monsters. In 031, we reduced the number
Ja,
of
aber ist
monsters
schon
in
reduziert.
early endgame in order to help with this, but still scaled up the number of monsters to previous levels by the time you got to tier 15. Well, after letting this simmer for a while, we are still getting this kind of feedback. So we are no longer going to scale up the number of monsters you go as you get deeper into the endgame. Instead, we are scaling up the difficulty and rewards by the same amount. So to be clear, instead of increasing the number of monsters by 40%, they will instead drop 40% more items,
Aber
grant
Density ist ja schon
40%
cool
more
teilweise
experience,
einfach.
and have
Mehr
40%
Mobs.
more life, in addition to all the normal scaling they get due to being higher level.
Weiß
This
ich nicht.
only applies to regular monsters, not bosses. We have also reduced the speed modifiers that monsters can get sometimes, which also helps a lot with this. Now, we did have a large amount of content for endgame planned for 040, but unfortunately we just didn't get time to finish it. The scope was a bit too large, and so we would need to wait until 050 for that. But rest assured, there will be a ton of upgrades for the existing leagues, as well as new pinnacle bosses, and a significant overhaul to the Atlas passive tree coming soon. Now, another problem that becomes a much bigger issue in the endgame is game performance. And we have done a lot of work here. The primary
Ich hab einen neuen
issue
PC.
is CPU load. And to address that, a lot of things have been optimized. And we have done a lot of
Sieht
work
aus
to
wie ein
take
Grün heiß, hab ich
advantage
gehört.
of more of your CPU cores. You should see frame rates of at least 25% higher, and a lot less bad frame spikes
Okay.
during gameplay. It does make quite a big difference, especially on consoles. A lot more work in this area is ongoing, and you will continue to see performance improvements over the next few months. Of course, another
Das bleibt im
important
Game,
area is game balance, and we have made a lot
auch
of
cool.
changes. Now, most of these we will save for the patch notes, but I'll do a quick summary of some of the numbers. As well as adding 11 new unique items, we have rebalanced dozens of others that are not currently used very often. We've also done a pass over lineage supports. 21 of them have been rebalanced, as well as adding 9 more.
Kaum's Madness
Alongside
buffen
the
ein
2
bisschen.
new druid ascendancies, we have made balance changes to almost all the others, with some of them getting a grander rebalance,
Increased
such as the Smith of
burst?
Katava.
Unaffected,
Alongside the 20 plus new
unaffected by
druid skills,
ailments.
we've also rebalanced 90 other active
gut.
skills, across all the different classes. And to top it all off, there are also over 250 new passive skills added to the passive tree.
Ja.
These changes
Ist
should
nicht
go a
groß
long
genug.
way to increase
Das
the
Skill-Tree.
viability of many more skills, uniques, and overall build variety that can tackle our most challenging content.
Habt ihr Leben, gell?
Next up, we're going to be talking about our new supporter packs. Today, we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs, the Precursor and Kalgurin packs. Each tier contains the pack's full face value in points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions. As always, the microtransactions in these packs are purely cosmetic and do not affect your character's power or progression in any way. The Precursor series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. First up, the Marble Statue Character Effect. Once you finally stay still for a moment, a podium rises up out of the ground to immortalize you,
Okay.
turning your skin to marble. When you next move, the stone crumbles around you. The Precursors had
Ein
mastery over
AFK-Effekt.
gravity manipulation. So too can you, now with the Gravity Well portal. Witness the power of its pull as you
Das sieht
approach.
aus wie die eine Offhand in dem 4. Von Zorg.
Draw in enemies with your own gravitational pull with the Awakened Precursor armor set. The Precursors designed and built many mysterious ancient beings. This one used to serve as a scout that would patrol and tase intruders. Why salvage gear yourself when the Master of the Forge can do it for you? Molten gold spills out as the Forge Master breaks down your items.
Sieht schon cool aus.
The relic of the Precursor's map device is a mysterious machine that sits atop ancient colossal statues. It keeps track of the number of charges consumed on your Precursor tablets used in the device. The Kalgurin pack series also contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. The Kalgurins had astounding skill in astronomy, being able to track cosmic events with absolute precision. Harnessing that skill, with the Astronomer's level up effect equipped, you too can now see exactly
so ein
how
bisschen
long
an
it took
die-
you to level up
Am D3
as it
durch den Level
outputs
up.
the time
Paragon
in
Level up. Uff,
The
Explosion.
time taken to reach your
Muss noch Damage
last
machen.
3 levels is also displayed on the item, so you can link it when you have a time you're proud of. Crush unique
Ist halt für
enemies
Level
by
100
unleashing
schon
the
geil.
wrath of the lost Kalgurin fleet, led formerly by Captain Heartland himself. A Kalgurin seafarer needs armor fit for the treacherous seas of Rayclast. This set has you covered with the classic tricorn and, of course, a peg leg. The Lost Treasure weapon skins top off your appearance of a true raider of the seas. These gilded weapons can be applied to wands, two-hand maces, and shields. After a long day of plundering loot, retreat to the Kraken's Cove
Ui.
hideout, a home of some of the most deadly ocean-dwelling creatures in Rayclast. Many ships have met their demise here. What better to
rustikal.
accompany you in Kraken's Cove than a Kraken itself? Replace your stash with a dormant Kraken,
Hab ich mir gedacht,
waiting
dass das
for
die
its
Kiste
prey.
ist, ja.
As you approach, it will awaken and terrify both you and any guests in your hideout. Alongside this, an extra stash skin item will be granted to you, and when placed, will automatically open to any stash tab set with the currency affinity, to help having to navigate through your tabs. Additionally, any microtransactions from the supporter
Oh,
packs
dass man direkt
will
auf
be
dem Ding
made
dann drauf
available
ist.
for use in Path of Exile 1. Thank you very much for all your ongoing support. We're just about to start the Q&A with Ziggy D. Afterwards, at 11 AM NZ time, we'll post the patch notes.
Oh,
With
Patch Notes
release
haben wir
at
heute
the
noch.
end of next week, our community team will be posting crucial information you'll need for the release. Keep an eye on the news. Thanks for joining us today and checking out our latest developments. We're looking forward to playing alongside our fellow shapeshifting exiles, all while uncovering Lost Vale secrets by doing some dungeon crafting. We'll begin the Q&A shortly, so please get your questions ready.
Ah, okay. Ich muss sagen, ich konnte am Anfang oder so, konnte ich mich noch nicht so ganz konzentrieren, aber dann langsam ging es wieder so ein bisschen runterfahren, ey. Ich habe heute Nacht irgendwie 2 oder 3 Stunden geschlafen oder sowas nur. Ein bisschen im Eimer. Ich hoffe, du machst ein gutes technisches Video. Komm gerade nicht hinterher. Ich will das dann Wir meinen 0,75 ab.
Welcome back, Exiles, to the Q&A portion. I am your host, Ziggy D, and today we're going to be touching on the design of the Druid
selber
and
erst mal
the Fate of
merken.
Our League while we gather some community questions. Then we'll deep dive into
Wer spielt alles Druid?
balance and other game design topics.
Krieg ich einmal ein
of course,
Plus im
joined
Chat?
by game directors Jonathan Rogers and Mark Roberts. How you guys going today?
Oh, very good. I mean, you know, it's been a great one to work on this one. Like, I've really enjoyed it. So yeah, it's definitely great to see you again. And it feels like it's only been like no time at all since the last
Zwei
time.
Plusse? Mehr Plusse?
It feels like only several
Plus,
weeks, and that's
ja.
pretty
YouTube-Chat
accurate.
sagt auch zweimal Plus.
We get to see you twice as
Maybe.
often now, so that's
Schwarze
fun.
Ewigkeiten,
around
also
every 2
ja.
months or so now, roughly. It's
Fühlt
great.
sich
I love it.
lame
Let's keep
aus.
going.
Ach, nee.
So I do have to open with this though. Is like Druid looked a little bit weak, I think, in the demonstration video today.
Yeah, I think one of
Dein
the
erster
issues that we
Kommentar.
have is
Druid
that we're
looks a
so
little bit weak.
concentrating on like just demonstrating how the mechanics work that we sort of forget to be like, okay, let's actually
So,
make sure the
Show-Gameplay
damage
ist immer
numbers that we're
langsam,
doing on this,
glaub
like,
ich.
test character we're filming here are
Das
actually
ist normal, weil
like,
man
in line
sieht
with
halt
what
nichts,
people
wenn du
actually,
durchspeedest.
normally
Das ist-
expect. So yeah, there's just a few things there that we probably should have
Testen, aber danach wieder Hexe.
and made a little stronger there. But
Okay,
yeah, when you actually
okay.
play it, it's certainly
Ah,
from
schon
the
einige,
alpha
die spielen
feedback
wollen.
incredibly powerful. Like
Yes.
Sah schon echt cool aus.
the like you know we were seeing some people say, oh, you know, the wolf looks weak or whatever. Well, I can assure you that on
Wo ich
alpha, there's a much more
Spellcast
stable
hier
wolf super
Totem gehört habe,
OP,
da sind meine Ohren
you know, it just
auch
comes down to,
gespitzt gewesen.
to the things you go through in order to demonstrate stuff.
think we,
Rolle Totem.
Probably going to be worthwhile. We make some videos
Mit
showing
irgendwie Feuerbällen
more
drin?
of the
Yeah, yeah.
less demonstratey side and get them posted and stuff this week. Because honestly, you can just play it literally right now, and it's you know.
Yeah, I've
different
definitely
ballpark,
been
but-
playing and recording a bit myself because I was like, when I first watched it as well, the draft, I was thinking, it's like I don't really get a feel for what it feels like to actually play it. Like, there's good demonstration here of the mechanics, but yeah, I can understand how, from your perspective, it'd be pretty easy to be like, oh, we want to communicate how this cool thing works and this cool thing works.
There's a fine line there for sure. Where if you
will die
get too
Patch Notes
hectic,
sehen.
people are like, I don't
Wir
even know
sehen,
what's going
was
on.
man,
Just
also
just
ich werde
looking
dann
at
heute
the ruckus.
entscheiden, langsam, was ich heute spiele.
And
Bei
then,
League Start.
in this case,
Aber ich weiß auch nicht, was ich
a
machen
little
will.
too far on the other side of the line was just a bit too slow, and as a result, yes, it can look a bit weak.
Das League-Thema sah sehr geil
I
aus.
think we'll try and get some like raw Druid gameplay.
Verrücktes
out to
Labyrinth
people to
spielen.
keep
Kennt ihr
it
mal,
interesting. I
oder?
think
Das
particularly for this class,
Brettspiel.
because of the shape-shifting stuff.
Wenn man
It's
so
so
die
hard
Dinger
for us to-
einsortiert.
Normally we can
Pop,
look
pop,
at something
pop.
and be like, oh, that's just a demonstration. We kind of know what it would look like at endgame. But I think with the Druid, it's just so unusual. It's so different that it's actually hard to judge what it would be feel like to even play it. And I'm happy for my hands-on to say that like it's almost immediately like very smooth the shape shifting of it, the movement of it, especially because like in your demonstrations you're not really using dodge, roll, sprint, that sort of thing as well, which makes a big difference.
I suppose one of the things we didn't really dwell on in the video as well is that we do actually have dodge roll. I mean, they're not actually rolls for the animals, but yeah, all the animals can like
and
hop
flaps
around and that kind of stuff. And that was honestly one of those things that was like kind of funny because initially we actually had it so when you dodge roll, you would transform back into a human. And the reason we did that is because it's really
Gibt doch
hard
den
to
rollenden
make
Bär.
animations for animals that like actually work correctly. Like we actually thought it was impossible, but then when we actually put it on alpha, there was the kind of visceral reaction of I want to still be a bear, like you know, while I'm hopping around. So we ended up having to like.
40 neue passive Notes, plus
can we make
52
this
überarbeitet.
possible? How can
Ich
we
hoffe, bei
make
den
it so that
passiven
you
Notes ist ein bisschen mehr Leben wieder dabei.
the dodge rolling as an
Ich hoffe, da ist viel
animal. And
Toughness
that's
dabei
ended up,
generell. Das fehlt mir am meisten im Skilltree, muss ich
And
sagen.
this was like clearly the classest, like the hardest class to design so far, and it took a bit longer. Like I think you were originally hoping to bring it out in a
Doppel
previous-
Corrupt, ja. Das ist natürlich auch, das ist schon.
The thing is with it, is
Ah.
that it's kind of like designing 4 classes in
Das ist
one.
so
Because
SSF
not only do you have
unfreundlich,
the
muss ich
situation
sagen,
where,
leider.
Like obviously we want to have synergy between
Wenn
skills
ich wieder
and
meine
stuff like
guten
that.
Streitkolben
We can
kaputt
look at that in a
machen.
normal class and work out what those might be. But with this class, people want to be able to
Performance,
play
ja.
just as a bear or just as a wolf.
Ich bin gespannt.
As well
Neuer
as people
PC.
want to play like dual with
Wie
a
viel
human
FPS krieg
animal,
ich?
or people just want to be a wolf and a bear and like all the different combinations. So we had to kind of come up with a way for like each line needs to be self-sufficient and that it's got all the tools that you need. But at the same time, you have to not have it so it feels like there's just duplication between them. We're like, oh, like this is just the same thing as what a bear has, but you know, you are a wolf instead. So we kind of have to like, it's like you need all the tools and yet you also need to have them feel different. And that just made it really, really tricky to get all of the things right with it. And then it didn't also help that, you know, since the last time we were working on the Druid, way back when we showed it off
Ja,
in
Performance-Verbesserung.
Gamescom 2023,
25% mehr
we had
FPS im Schnitt, meinen
WSD.
die.
And that is a whole other complication
Alle.
because, you know, like how can we make that work with the animal forms? It's like a whole thing. You know, like I'll tell you the wyvern, for example. Like we had a hell of a time making it so that you could do the
Das sah
ranged attacks,
langsam
'cause
aus,
you need to
der
know what
Drache,
you're
muss ich
doing.
sagen, aber so vom
The wyvern's
Movement
sitting there
her.
with its arms, like,
Ich glaube, machen wir
planted on
grundlegend
the
anderes
ground, you know,
Movement-Speed
like,
hat er in den
being able
verschiedenen
to walk
Formen.
while
also splitting it. Yeah, it's like we went through so many iterations of that. So yeah, it was just a very tricky class overall, like just crazy.
Das war auch Kampagnen-Gameplay, da hat man eh kein Movement Speed. Kann auch sein, dass es halt schnell moven kann, natürlich.
This is not working, right?
Right. Well, I also remember like for a long time the wolf was just like a dancing dog. It was just like it looked really silly. And like man, the wolf as well. I mean, it was really hard to get right, and because one of the things we really wanted to avoid was I didn't want that too much of that whole like man in a wolf suit vibe. Yes. Like I wanted to actually get the feeling of like this is an actually different animal, which I think with the bear and the wyvern's way easier. With the wolf, it's like it's really hard not to just go back into that. So we had a lot of questions about like what even the locomotion was. How does it walk? Are we going to walk on 2 legs? Are we going to walk on 4? We ended up splitting the difference. You can do both, right? Like you get that when you're attacking and you can be upright walking on 2 legs. When you're walking, you run on 4, and you actually do get a speed boost while you're on 4 legs. Like as a wolf, just so after like 1 second of walking, you go down on 4 legs. You start moving a bit faster. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Aber beim ganz normalen Laufen, wenn dann noch sprintest,
technically has a kind of passive benefit.
Right.
So obviously you got the running fast as a wolf. Can't remember exactly what the wyvern ones were, but like for the bear, for example, because you're just a bit bigger, you know.
Oder mehr Sun Threshold?
Yeah, you actually do get armor, and armor applies to elemental damage as a thing. And like, you know, there's a kind of
Armor und Armor
like, honestly, unless you actually click
the Sun Threshold hätte für mich noch Sinn ergeben, muss ich sagen, als Bär eigentlich.
It was even more than that, because I was just looking
at it before.
The bear has like passive endurance charge generation.
Yes, it does. From rage expenditure, it does.
I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah. So we really wanted to
rage,
make sure that each of the different forms had things that can benefit the other forms. So like it was really tricky to think like, what are resources that a bear can generate? What are the resources the wolf can generate? What are the ones the wyvern can generate that the other ones can then use in order to kind of get that cross synergy? So that's kind of like one of the reasons why we had to kind of come up with all that stuff. And
Ja,
the tricky
jetzt passen halt Weihnachtsferien, Weihnachtszeit.
Like technically it's mentioned, but I never really fully understood the idea that you can swap between the forms, like human to animal and back. Yeah, I figured that's what's going on here. But you can like leap in as a wolf and then immediately transform to a bear mid slam.
You absolutely can. So the thing with this is that we.
Ich weiß nicht, ob da so viele Hybrid-Sachen gebaut werden dann.
Fantasy to someone as far as like what the UI is pushing you towards and all that sort of stuff. Like there are going to be a lot of people who are like, I want to be a bear, and they just pick bear stuff and they go all bear, right? But at the same time, we're unconstrained in the sense that you can pick all the other stuff, you can use it at the same time. So one talisman, like effectively when you pick on a talisman from like wolf, bear, or wyvern, what that's giving you is the default attack, right? That's what you're actually picking, and that's all it is, right? And that often will guide you, like what skills you're picking and so on.
Dieses Blind Beast mit dem Fischers da geil aus.
Talisman as many different animal skills as you would like. That just means that you've got that sort of free-flowing, like, you know, trying out different stuff, sort of combo gameplay that we you know, like to try and get. So, you know, obviously there will just be a lot of people who just pick one thing, right? Like I absolutely expect that. Yeah, no, there's a lot of experimentation to do there if you want to do it.
Yeah, so you've tried to hit like making it so like people who just want like a simple straightforwards, like I just want to run out as bear and slam the ground, like that's certainly very possible there. But also you with this whole class you had the problem of how do we make like a spellcaster and a melee attacker that's shapeshifter as well. I mean, this class has got a bit of everything.
For sure.
How did you make all that kind of like work together and solve that build problem of like, how do you actually scale these things together in a way that just one thing isn't way better than everything else?
Right. Well, I mean, it's always tricky, and Mark's obviously the one who.
Es wird irgendwas besser sein als die anderen. Das
ist
ist halt
from a design perspective.
Der Punkt.
You know, so I just throw over the fence all my.
Ich habe gehört, grundsätzlich sind Lightning Skills immer stärker. Die anderen Skills. Heißt hier Wyvern OP.
But effectively, like, so even with the spellcaster side, so one of the things we initially wanted with the spellcasting is a lot of it's like over time type effects that you know, so for example with the volcano, the really obvious one, right? Like you can create this thing and then you can turn into an animal and do other stuff at the same time. So we needed on the human side a lot of things that last for a long time. But the problem you then run into when you actually go to balance the thing is like, okay, well, if you've just got like 5 damage over time style spells, why not just cast all of them and then you don't have to ever do anything else, right? Like, so it's like that kind of stuff makes it really hard. So then you have to start thinking, okay, we want to make it so that you cast a long-term thing as a human, but then being an animal is going to augment that so that it improves it. So for example, with the tornado, it's got a similar mechanic to the little twisters that the hunters have where ground effects can empower it with extra elemental stuff. And so then we're like, okay, well, if the animal forms are the ones that can create the ground effects, then that means that you're kind of like, you're going to want to do, you know, like to mix that with the tornado, you now have to have both the animal forms and the spellcaster stuff if you want to get all of that together. So it's just a lot of that thinking about how can an animal form aid a spell, how can a spell aid an animal form, like all the way through. And then, yeah, as I said, we throw it over the fence, and then Mark tries to work out what kind of numbers can actually make it
it's a web of infinite difficulty, right? Because like we're talking about the 4 forms within the class, but each of these skills also synergizes with every other class and every other skill in the game, and it's becoming growingly more complicated. But that's also what's fun about the game, and what all the things you can unlock and the crazy builds you can do. But yeah, I mean, like this week's focus has been like, okay, we had all the, like during our alpha testing and internal testing, we had like, you know, there was the I want to be all forms going between. There was the I just want to be wolf, I just want to be bear, I just want to be a dragon. And now we're getting a lot more of I just want to cast nature plant skills and do plant stuff.
Und sehr stark von
D2 inspiriert, glaube ich. Quite long duration, so we're doing a bunch of complexity with that as well. And it honestly just
Neues, natürlich.
It does just spiral into like, oh my god, there's 20 million variables here. But it's fun. And at the end of the day, as long as it is honestly fun to play, then honestly we're golden. So, you know,
und Divines und dem Volcano.
I'd say we're pretty much there on almost everything with this class. I'd actually say we're a little bit more prepared than normal. We've had a lot of testing. Despite, I mean, partly because it's been in the works for so long. But yeah, it's, I don't know, like ultimately pretty fun. I'd say there's still something, obviously there's still more to do. There's obviously always more to do. But yeah, there's a lot going on, a lot of enjoyment. I saw yesterday, I was just like walking past someone's computer and, you know, someone was mentioning like, yeah, it's just fun placing 6 volcanoes and then just slamming on them. I was like, all right, sweet, you do you. Like, that's fine.
I was definitely enjoying obliterating bosses in bear form, like with dropping tornadoes, and there's the totem which you can summon in animal form, and then you're putting fishes down and they're exploding, and you're putting extra things on the ground and they're exploding. And there's definitely some boss deletion going on there. So.
Even just walking past the just many entangles going out, and then there's that plant support general. Like, all right, it's putting the new.
I see chat being like, no, Zig, you don't get it nerfed. I do have to admit that I did already get one thing, let's say fixed. Okay. There was a thing that was like double generating rage. So I'm like, I don't know if this is intended. Right. And like, no, the designer said that's probably not intended. Thanks, Ziggy. I'm like,
I don't know. We'll see where that goes, because I was
Tablet-Jobraten und Tower und so sind ziemlich, ob wir da noch was gemacht haben.
I'm fine with that.
Nicht, dass wir wieder eine Million Ready-Tablets hatten, so. Und keinen anderen.
I'm like,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, I didn't even know that.
Because like the totem's making a pulse and that's generating rage.
Right.
I'm like, that doesn't
that's interesting. That's
intentional.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I love that because that's like ridiculously powerful. That feels like way permissive. I was like, this feels illegal, but that's like, you gotta let a few things in there that feel illegal.
It's doing what the skill says.
I may not have. Maybe I didn't get enough. Okay, cool.
I don't know. They might have changed it. I'll find out afterwards. I just throw my opinion in there. I don't want to necessarily be like, you know, I try and make sure with a lot of these balanced discussions, it's not like, you know, I'm just an authority on the matter. I want to actually discuss these things through, because maybe it isn't actually fine, but, you know, my first instinct is like, yeah, like let it run wild. Like, what's the problem, you know? So
yeah, you gotta.
We'll see what happens, but whatever. They don't know what the problem is, so don't worry. Oh, now they do. Thanks, you ruined it. Now people will know if it changed, and now
they'll see the thing not generating rage, and they'll see that line of text. Now that's the Ziggy line of text.
Wann wollten die Patch Notes raushauen?
Developing a reputation now.
Haben die nur
just
gesagt?
finding bugs. It's okay. So, like the shapeshifting stuff comes from this trinket, the talisman?
Yeah, the animal talisman.
And is there any limitation just kind of like putting that on another class and just say like, I am playing my Mace Marauder or my Quarterstaff Monk and I want to do it that marks targets?
You can do it. In fact, it was one of the things initially that, you know, it's funny with the audio team, because initially like, we want to record like bear lines for the druid the whole time. And I'm like, hey guys, remember, anyone can turn into this animal. Are you actually going to commit to every single class? Is going to have like three different extra versions of every single line the character can deliver? It's like, yeah, that's a bit tricky. So we ended up going with a voice mod in the end. But yeah, that was one of those.
It's like they're their kind of their thoughts, I think it shifts to. It almost sounds like, to me, that's what it sounds like. They're like, they're thinking it or something like that. I don't know.
But yeah, would it be completely impople to record every single line an additional 3 times for every character class?
Voice actors, everybody come back and we need to roar like a bear.
Exactly. But yeah, effectively, every class can be an animal. It's exactly the same as the weapon restriction. Ultimately, being a bear is the same as having a mace, which may sound a little bit odd, but that is actually how it works and what allows having.
Whoa. I didn't even think about that. Wait, so you can use mace skills while in bear?
No. What I meant was that it's the same. I mean, it's the same in the sense that
welche Startanforderungen haben diese Talismane gebraucht?
Yeah.
Kann ich sowas, du willst nicht halt irgendwie bei Streitkolben nehmen?
That's unique item territory for the future.
Kann ich Fischers verteilen und dann als Bär einfach auf den drauf rumhüppen?
Why things like so weapon locked? And I've always maintained the position that
Auf
you
dem
guys
zweiten Waffensword
want to
einfach?
do that as much as possible initially, and then in the future you can blur the lines a little bit. Like there's maybe in the future you're like, oh well, maybe this skill has a way of crossing over.
We can do, but the thing is, a lot of the identity of a weapon type really comes a lot from what it can do, and so that's the kind of the main reason why we do it that way. But but the thing is as well, the weapon swapping, I mean, you can still use skills from different elements.
Wenn ich Strength und Int,
weapons and things like that.
Da ist dann nämlich wieder dazwischen, gell? Der ist ja zwischen Warrior und
like definitely some of the bears I noticed parallel
nach
between
oben
some of
hin
its
kommt da
skills and
Witch
some
oder
of the
so.
mace stuff, and I could see absolutely combining like this bear skill that places fishes with the other stuff on the mace that triggers the fishes. Like there's like
genau das, was ich gerade gesagt habe.
Well, I mean, they're adjacent classes, right? I mean, you've got like
Aber andersrum, als Warrior Fissures machen und dann mit dem Bär draufhüpfen. Weil der Bär das triggern konnte, während er gemoved ist. Dann muss man nicht stehen bleiben für Earthquake oder so zum Beispiel.
As you get more classes and more skills, you obviously get an overlap of the kind of mechanics and keywords and
bis
stuff.
morgen, Freunde.
Iterating, and thus they will always cross-synergize. And where there still will be new things a class offers, yes, there's always going to be a bunch of stuff that they use that will then interact with all the other skills. So.
Yeah, and now you added plants and plants that grow from rain, and there's a plant keyword that has overgrown as a keyword.
Yeah. Like... It's interesting actually, those ones, because they're on completely opposite sides of the tree. You've got Dex versus Strength Int, and that's been a little bit hard to kind of like get the where the mechanic should go on one side versus the other. So where we ended up going is that the nature side of things for plants on the Strength Int is like you've got the poison on the Dex side versus the kind of like just pure nature like physical damage spells on the Strength Int side. But that's been fun though, because now it's actually been really fun designing the supports, because the more classes we have, the more we can start to think, okay, like here's a support that's for something obscure. How can we make it so this can apply to some other kind of thing on the opposite side of the tree where like now you've got some interesting interaction? So there could be some kind of like thing where growing plants as a ranger could be sort of something. I mean, like I can't say I've tested the potential there myself, but like we made all of that work. All the plants can, like
ja, alles kann man doch als Deadeye abusen, dachte ich so.
Watering the rangers' plants is like a thing. They all have ways that works.
I mean, that definitely opens up interesting party options in the future as well. Like, I do like the idea of being like a rainy druid watering.
It's a thing. It's easily a thing. It's not even hard to do as well.
Right.
It's kind of just like, thanks, druid, you buffed poison rangers. Yeah. Like, that's kind of just what happened.
Yeah.
Right, good, yes. And the rain buffing lightning skills as well, like increasing shock chance and stuff. It's pretty wild how much stuff you've just jammed into one class here. How did you like kind of settle on a identity for the wyvern in particular? I feel like people know what a bear is, people know what the wolf is, and even a lot of the like druid stuff is pre-established as like, you've got plants and you got like nature and you got like lifting up the earth, that sort of stuff.
Well, we really wanted to have a third form that was a little bit out there in terms of different from what you'd seen in another game. I mean, obviously, like every game that's got transformations has the bear and the wolf, right? That's just like the staple. But and actually, for that, funnily enough, for that reason, we couldn't not do it. There was actually a period there where we weren't going to have a wolf because we were a little bit unhappy, with us. And it's just like, well, exactly, right? That was the reaction. That was the reaction of like all the furries come out of the woodwork and like, you gotta have a wolf.
How dare you?
Yeah, how dare you? Exactly, right? So like, okay, we'll have a.
And did I know?
Exactly. Don't anger them. So that was a real concern. So we decided to go. We needed the two familiar, and then we needed one that was a little bit more out there. And really, when we were looking at the bear and the wolf, it was kind of like we want the slower, harder hitting. We want the faster and like speedy kind of version. Obviously, being the wolf. We also wanted something that had some range elements. And then a sort of more spellcaster vibe a little bit more. And so we sort of thought about it a little bit like what animal is ranged. Like it's not really, there's not, like, not a lot out there that can really sort of do that. And so, eventually we settled on the wyvern. I mean, someone of course at one point was like, how about a dragon? And we're like, what the heck? What are you talking about? But then eventually I thought about it and it's like, actually, you know what? There's some potential here.
If you suggested to me, I told you not to do it because like there's no way you could make it look good and not look stupid. But it eventually worked. It was hard though. We did get there. It actually looks pretty cool. But it's kind of a spell blade almost. Like it's got a bit of range stuff, but it's got a bit of like spell kind of melee things going on.
I mean, as it should be for strength int.
Yeah, and you were asking what the passive buffs were. I was looking at it before. It's like it's got buffs to freeze, shock, and energy regeneration actually, as well, like energy recharge, I think.
It's a shame you knew. The reason I was actually being vague is I knew what they were. I just wanted to change them.
Okay, I mean that's fine. Do something.
Sorry
cool.
for my slight disingenuousness.
Do something cool.
I kind of feel like they shouldn't. I didn't want them to be offensive benefits.
Yeah, they're supposed to be defensive.
It forces you into build types. Whereas like if they're utility or defensive, that way they will work across all board. That's my general philosophy. So I feel like I want to have a go at trying to design the energy shield thing. I don't mind. I wanted to have a go at designing stuff that's more utility or defensive only, and that way you don't feel like, oh, I should have to play lightning or fire because it gets the passive benefits. That way, if you wanted to do a kind of weird out there thing, it doesn't feel so bad, but we'll see what I come up with.
Do you have an idea, or are you still figuring it out?
Nah, I got no clue. I don't know. You could play on the fact it's got like, wings to, something defensive for block or something for, hard carapace maybe, or, I don't know, the fact it has wings, something to do with the wings,
much dragon lore to pull from. I got like a book that my daughter really likes to read that's like full of dragon lore. I'll send you some ideas.
All right, sweet, yeah. Dragon, they hoard gold, right? Gold find?
Yeah, totally.
That sounds like it.
Eat piles of gold for buffs or something.
There's gold over there. Quick, shapeshift, pick it up, shapeshift back. No, I'm obviously joking, please. I'm not doing that.
Gold find, no, please don't. Mandatory dragon gold find build. I know it's kind of funny though. It's distinctly PoE. So the druid is this like strength int class, and with the Templar we had the idea more of like you've got the armor energy shield stuff, but that's still the case here, as that's the strength int base. But I feel like the energy shield stuff is not as iconic to druid. How have you incorporated that and made it feel like something that makes sense, or like in what ways have you incorporated that to the druid? I feel like it's not obvious.
Yeah, look, it's a little bit off in terms of the feel there, but at the end of the day, we kind of don't really have many options as far as what we can do. I mean, like that, it is important for it to be that it has that, like armor and energy shield approach. There's a few sort of interesting, what do you call them, spirit reservation gems. I don't know I can never remember what the official name of that is. That sort of interact with that stuff in a dual way. So there's like that bark skinned thing that effectively allows you to take advantage of energy shield to generate armor. Like, so when you lose energy shield, you get armor instead, and like it like creates little bits of bark on your skin.
Cool.
There's like things like that we've added. But it's a little bit of a thematically weird thing. And I think probably the weirdest part about that is like, yeah, you're gonna have energy shield as a bear. It's a bit strange, like, getting hit as a bear and then there's a little energy shield pop. But I mean, yeah, it is what it is. It kind of has to be that way.
Well, you don't have to.
Well, I suppose, sure, you can get full armor if you want, but
I feel like because there's like such a range of identities within that one class as well, that you've got the bear maybe that doesn't really align as much with that. There's definitely more armor stuff.
Yeah, so you could build more strength when depending on what animal form you're playing, of course.
Yeah, whereas like the wyvern potentially has more of that kind of magical aspect to it, where it's like that's
I mean, and that's why the wyvern itself does get the benefits to energy shield, and the bear does get the benefits to armor in order to kind of make it so you are, like, depending on what animal form you're going, there's a bit of alignment in the defenses there.
I mean, really, it's the tree that inspires and motivates this, right? Like, a sorceress could be on the bottom side of the tree and still have the same skill set, and, obviously the damage nodes are a bit weird, but it could work. There's nothing saying, I mean, that's part of the beauty of the game as well.
Yeah, I mean, I had that experience where I was like, because it wasn't as clear, I was almost inventing my own lore there a little bit, where I was specking the regen from the druid, and then the Zealot's Oath right there. I'm like, oh, this actually, like, you're converting your natural kind of like life regen into energy shield. Like, I was like, oh, this is kind of the druid's thing. Like,
yeah, I mean, that is a way for sure. Like, keystones certainly are pretty powerful, and we have a bunch of, I think there's an extra. I can't remember what it's doing. There's one that says "Do not translate" on it, so it's in progress. But yeah, we were playing around with trying to have some armor, energy shield, more hybrid stuff going on with the keystones there. It was based on what's it called? PoE one's, is it Divine Shield? Is that the name of the keystone? I can't remember. Too many names. But, you know, it's based on that, but not exactly the same, like a derivative of that we're trying to get going. But, yeah, it's just because I was like, we need more keystones that I feel more druidy. And I know there's a rage one there that is embracing the animal ferocity, where it, like, what does it do? It's like doubles your maximum rage, but makes you don't get inherent bonuses from rage. So it's like, if you really want to do the skills that are rage consumers, like rampage, and you just want to rampage for as much time as possible, you obviously go for that keystone. You lose the benefits of rage, but you get to rampage around for twice as long. You know, so a few things like that we're trying to add that are thematic as well. And I think that's another one of the really cool parts about adding a class is 1/6 of our tree was just filled with just placeholder garbage. Like, actually, like, there's a giant link thing there. There's no links in the game, really. You know, it's like, what are we doing with that? You know, it's like, and so I was like, well, that looked like a vine. Just make that a plant thing. And, and so now it's a plant thing that talks about overgrown plants. And, but we filled in that whole bit of the tree. And guess what? Now witches and sorceresses have more energy shield stuff on that kind of direction around towards the druid, and warrior has more, and you know, and I don't just mean energy shield, I mean everything, all the mechanics. Right?
Warrior vielleicht ein bisschen mehr Live-Stuff noch.
The strength mechanics, everything. So
it is nice we finally have a class in every different part of the tree, so like we don't have this like weird open stuff anymore.
Yeah, that area of the tree was a little strange. I mean, it's such a massive tree already, and you're adding more to it, and then like I have to wonder, like, you added this Oracle class. Like, I saw the Shaman one, I was like, yes, this is exactly what I expected. But then I saw the Oracle, and you guys had like 130 extra passives. So far. Like, why do you do this to yourself? Like, that seems ridiculous.
Na, wird sie
because it's cool.
That's the best reason you could ask for, right?
Yeah.
I was like, I
Druiden?
really went through. I mean, I know we showed 2 examples, but I was like, really want to make sure there's like cool off-spec stuff here. I want to make sure that if you want to be able to get more of a certain thing, this is a way to do it. I mean, at the end of the day, it still costs passive points to allocate, right? So it's more about, you know, maybe you want some stuff that normally you'd have to go to the deck section for and get, you know, maybe some projectile related stuff, and now you can get it up there because it allows for some kind of weird off class, and it was all themed around, you know, if you got to live your life again, what would you change? Like, what different paths would you take? And so it's this interesting, like,
it's an existential crisis as a node.
That fits period.
Initially, I always write my little blurbs about them to you know, get them in the live stream, and I was like, it's got all the passives not yet added to the game. I thought it was an interesting way of looking at it. Not that that's actually how it is, but I thought it was like a kind of, it's like lessons you learn, you get to now use in advance kind of. I thought it was just a cool thematic thing that linked to the class. And it's easy, by the way, as designers to see that kind of thing and go, we have a million things to do. Like, is that really, like, that's too much time, too much work, right? And I'm just like,
sad, isn't it?
if we say that about everything, you get nothing cool.
Yeah.
And so it's that, and I mean, even the shamans, like runes revealing hidden powers, like we're setting ourselves up for a large amount of cumulative time over a while, right? Any rune we add, anything, like we have to add and consider the shaman stats, and that's another whole axis of things. We have to meta balance every league, and same with the oracle passives, and every time we change the tree, and like when we eventually add the Templar, we're going to have to relocate all those nodes because that tree's going to get a giant. Now we've got 2.5 classes in one section, but it's worth it. It is actually worth it. You add so many builds, so many cool things, and if you don't want to deal with it, just pick another class. It's fine. Same class, you know, you don't have to take that node. So
I think this like very clearly communicates that you're also okay with this idea of there being just like hidden cool stuff to discover that you're not going to know ahead of time, because you can't like look at the class options on the character selection screen and know what the passives are going to be that are hidden behind the oracle.
Sure.
Right? So it's like, yeah, that's cool. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's always going to be community tools, and they're going to come up with a way to make that, you know, to the build guides and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, like,
I love the secret stuff. I actually got my secret Abyssal Lich.
Yeah, wild.
It was an actual final secret, and maybe there's more. Well, you want to do more
of that, don't you? I can tell. Look at him. He wants to do more.
Of course, I love it. I love people having cool secret things they can find, and it isn't just like 1000% pre-planned. out of the gate. Like, I understand the need to plan, I understand the need to have confidence in a build, and you don't want to go in and only realize you've made the wrong decisions and stuff like that, for sure, but I definitely want to find that balance where you have that while you also get your cool secrets that you get to add to the game that are fun.
Yeah. I think there's like a couple more chat questions on Druid, but we'll try and move on to the other stuff soon because I know people want to talk about the other thing. I could talk about Druid all day. I think the design's super interesting here. But some of the questions were that I think people are a bit confused about like the talismans and the forms and how that stuff works. So the talismans are effectively just like another weapon.
Yeah, exactly.
And things like attack speed, movement speed on gear and everything will affect you in your movement.
Absolutely.
Animal forms. It's not like... I think because a lot of other games do it where when you change form, like all of a sudden, oh, your weapon's not affecting you, or this thing's not affecting you.
Well, I mean, effectively, so we're doing the changing form by utilizing weapon swaps. So you've got 2 weapon sets in here. And the talisman effectively serves as your weapon. Yeah, like if you're playing a druid, you are going to have to learn how to use weapon specialization passives and stuff like that if you want to have the spellcaster and melee thing. Now, a lot of the passive tree nodes, like in the druid section of the tree, all have like attack and spell damage and that kind of stuff. So like certainly for most of the start of the class, you won't have to worry about it. But as you get deeper in, and if you want to do hybrid spell attack, you are going to have to think about like, okay, what are my attack passives, what are my spell passives, and do that.
I was actually surprised at how simple and straightforward it was to do. So like the weapon specialization tree thing, you still do need to think about and understand how that works. But the basics of it, like using the actual skills, just happens automatically. Like I didn't ever have to actually go in and
no, you don't have to worry about that part. Just because of the fact that because this has always been the rule, but it's really apparent here. Like if it'll swap to the weapon set that can use the ability, so therefore you don't have to actually tweak it. You just put it in and it kind of works. So
like if I tried to use my spell, it would shift to human automatically and use the staff. So like that was all automated, and I didn't have to like program anything like that. Right. Like I have on some other builds, I guess, where it's a bit.
Yeah, mostly that's just because you get into a situation with those where because it's usable on both. Now you have to start going in there and tweaking that stuff. But here, because it makes it much simpler when you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, so there's a decent onboarding there, given the potential complexity of that. All right, so we'll move on now to the Fate of the Val expansion, and there's definitely more of a like clear divide between the two things, and you even actually made 2 separate trailers this time around.
Well, it would have been super weird to have these like 2 completely clashing themes in the trailer. So yeah, in the end we were
like, dieses Fate of the Val, gibt es sowas in der Art in PoE 1 oder ist es komplett neu?
It's really hard to unify these 2 things in a kind of reasonable
way.
Weil
ich weiß, es gibt diesen Boss in PoE 1 auch anscheinend. Theory oder so, oder habe ich mal nachgegoogelt?
They're not. Aside from both of them having a buttocks in it, they're not connected.
That just happened. Yeah, that was total accident, by the way. It was just like 2 totally unrelated.
Yeah, sure. I was.
Ist er wieder.
Praising the equality of it. Like, yeah, I was great. There's buttocks for everyone here in this trailer. Excellent. Thank you. So this expansion is, and we saw this a little bit where you tried to work in the previous League mechanics into like story quest stuff, which I was super keen on. This expansion definitely feels much more deeply linked into the campaign and story, to the point where like Doriani's saying, go back in time and try and change these things that happened in the campaign. I was like, this feels like a major campaign story beat. So I mean,
on now. There's a few things going on there. So like initially, this League, unlike I think what we've done too much of in the past, the storyline develops quite a lot more kind of like through the campaign with different events that happen and sort of link in a lot. And part of the reason originally for that is that one of the things we sort of don't like necessarily about what leagues do is like you've got this situation where you like walk out of town in like, literally the first area, and it's like some eldritch entity is immediately recruiting your services. You know what I mean? Like it's actually very like unfortunate.
Put this rusty thing in your body.
Exactly right. So we kind of wanted to try and make sure that there's a little bit more like it doesn't feel like the world is on your shoulders like right from the get go. Like there's actually like a little bit a growth of epicness throughout the League. So like if we'd have had it so it's like you're time traveling into the past, like the moment you walk out the gate. It's like, okay, it's just not quite right. So we decided what we'll do is we'll make so that there is the temple. We've got a kind of like almost a baby version of the mechanic where you've got a lesser number of rooms. Like it's kind of a bit simpler, like to start out with. And then once you pass the sort of key point in the storyline, then it like really opens up. You go into the past. You've got a little more story stuff going on. It did add quite a lot more work to kind of have to make 2 versions of a bunch of things and that kind of stuff. But I think it is worth it because it means that it feels like the League has a lot more going on. it just doesn't kind of break you don't break immediately the feeling of the world, which has been a problem in the past.
I have very strong opinions on this one. It's like dark horror, gothic, secondary. I'm 3 dimensions deep of like I'm in the past or in some sort of demon realm now. I don't know what's going on here.
And it's fine as you go, but this is actually one of the challenges I think we're going to have just designing leagues generally, is that they're going to require a bit more work to make them feel right. I mean, even just something as simple as like the Vaal sacrifice circles that you get throughout the world. Normally what we would have done is like make one thing and call it a day. Here what we've done is we've got like 10 or more. There's a ton of variations of those, where for like each act we're like, in like for each area we're thinking like, okay, which like we need more of these so that we can use them so they feel natural in the place where they are, like do a bit of material reskin, stuff like that. Like that's kind of the stuff that we now need to do to sort of make it feel like you're not breaking
like
the world stuff.
the PoE 1 style, betrayal basement. You just okay, so there's just a basement everywhere, like in the mud flats. Like, okay, that just doesn't. We want to make sure that these things are.
Bei diesen auf Bambus gebauten Stegen da rumläuft und dann geht man dann nämlich in so einen metallischen Untergrund rein.
I'm not just in a basement in the mud.
Oder wo sie da Risse halt auch öffnen von einem Biss. Das gibt auch mal sehr viel Sinn. So Risse in diesem Bambus da öffnen sich.
I was a bit worried about like the tone of Act 1 with the Vaal stuff, but then like it fits in reasonably well. Like you've definitely taken good care to make sure that it doesn't.
Well, I mean, it's a matter of making it feel like there's some ancient ruin that then later someone came along and like some Ezomites went in there and they built some stones around it because they're like, well, what is this thing? And like we just thought a little bit about like how would the culture here have reacted to the fact that there was this ancient ruin from long ago in this location and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And you mentioned to me that this is the bar for what you want to be doing. This is the quality level for what you want to be doing.
So I'd say that like it does sort of. I would say here, like the level of polish and the stuff that we're doing, like the amount of content that a league needs to actually be good. Like, obviously, when we did 020, the league was a little bit like, it was just the Asmerian spirits, and like, I mean, it was a league, but it wasn't really. Didn't have like the depth of content and stuff that you needed. And then with 030, I think we did a lot better. Like it came a lot better, but I still don't think we quite got there in terms of
that was
like
the PoE 1 level kind of.
And then this one here, I think like you get up to the level of quality that we really want to be delivering in PoE 2, like post release and everything, and like the kind of the amount of content you need for a league. Like it needs to be quite sizable and good, and it did take a lot of effort, but I think it's worth it because you sort of shows you what we can do when we.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's like a high bar that you've effectively kind of like locked in committing to for expansions.
Well, hopefully I don't come to regret it, but it's
Was auch
honestly,
coole
the script did
Sachen.
explode a little bit because when we
Druid sieht schon sehr, sehr geil aus. Und das League-Thema sieht sehr cool aus.
Designed the league, I was kind of like, okay,
so wie hier Brettspiel verrücktes Labyrinth.
And like each
Man
one will have a few
bastelt sich
levels,
so
and it kind of
einen
didn't seem like it was
Weg
that large, but really in
so
the
einen
context
Teil.
of PoE 2, it's like, well,
Sah cool aus.
when
Double
if you're
Corrupten
going to
und
spend
so.
effort to upgrade
Kommt
a room,
damit.
it needs to feel meaningfully different and have meaningfully better rewards and all that stuff, and it pretty soon
Natürlich
expands into like
coole
a really
random
huge list of like
Sachen.
different combat encounter mechanics and different like crafting mechanics and different rewards and everything. Like
Ganz viele
there are
passive
so
Notes wieder im
many
Skilltree.
new rewards and things in just
Neue
in the
Skills
sample,
und
it's
Support Skill
crazy.
Gems und so.
Like like
Patch Notes kommen hier
there's a
nach.
lot there. Like certainly the number of expanded craft.
Also bisher kann man so viele
stuff.
Support Skill Gems, die halt andere
We
Skills
could
auch
take some
unterstützen, die halt nicht nur
inspiration
Druid
from
sind.
PoE 1 did with Incursion, in terms of double
Da
crops
haben
and
sie nur so
stuff.
ein paar random
We have to
Sachen
make it work
gezeigt.
in a PoE 2 context. We like there's just a lot there.
Yeah, I've followed
den
your progress with
Alpha-Template
designing
doppelt.
this one
Yes,
from
well,
the very
das ist die
beginning.
Joyman,
Yeah,
die
the
es
funny
dann
thing
auch in
about that is
PoE
that it
2
actually
gibt.
came from a
Es
game
gibt
that you recommended that I play.
ausverkaufte
Yeah,
neue
no,
Serie,
so,
eine
yeah, you recommended that I
Uber-Serie.
play this
Ah
game
ja,
called
der
Loop
Frage
Hero,
in
and I really
PoE 1
enjoyed it.
nachgeht.
And then, I mean, everyone's going to think that the game were
Sowas in
inspired
der
by
Art
his
gibt es dann
blueprints,
so,
but
aber
it
nicht
actually
genauso
wasn't.
mit
It was,
dieser
Loop Hero.
Labyrinth-Mechanik.
It was so
Die war
good,
echt
'cause
cool.
I told you about that game, and then it was like a week later.
Für Lightning Skills gibt es irgendwas, was man Gegner nass machen kann und dann leitet das Lightning besser. Der Druide kann so Regen machen. Nasse Gegner bekommen mehr Lightning Damage.
It's funny because this is like the first league I've actually
Dass man
personally
Mechanik
done
mal
code
allgemein so
on in like
benutzen kann.
quite a long time.
You really got into it.
Yeah. Because I mean, it was a real fun, just like evening thing to like go and just like work on this design. One of
Druide
the
hat eine
great things about doing
Drachenform
that is that I
einfach.
got to make so many design changes just in the course of like of writing it,
Wolfbär und
which I
Drache.
don't think necessarily would have gone exactly the same way if I was getting other people to do it. So yeah, that was really fun. And just make a and then effectively the back of it is like the code that I wrote, but obviously the UI of it is like a whole thing that a bunch of other people worked on and made look really awesome. But yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, what is it like about this one that grabbed you so much? Because you got so involved and so personally, like working on it at home.
Yeah, I just really enjoy this kind of like little game within a game, like little minigame things. And just that dungeon design thing is just a really fun thing for me.
Tile placing is
yeah,
good,
it's really fun.
Love a good tile place.
Aber nicht so von oben quasi.
Ways that they can interact and that kind of thing, and try to make one each feel a bit different and that
Oder
kind
so
of
richtig
stuff.
so Sachen rein
Yeah, and it's got this like iterative design where you're building a temple, you run it like it's a really small one at first, and then it crumbles a bit, but you're still kind of building on what you're doing.
Ja,
it's like a weird kind of like roguelike-y
thing. Wasser stehen gab es im Bolzen, oder die Exes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Das war doch eine coole Mechanik eigentlich so.
So with that design there,
man kann schon Öl und sowas überall hinmachen, damit die Mobs dann brennen und so. Und dann kühlen und dann sind die immer eingefroren. Wasser und dann schocken.
Quite a lot of the temple gets destroyed. So there's this kind of destabilization thing. It goes back to not the start, but kind of I think it removes like 2/3 of the rooms. There's some number like that that it gets rid of.
Ich denke mal, jemand Patchnotes werden dann mal ein bisschen was durchwürfeln.
So that's just that effectively means that like when you do those options, you're getting like new reward rooms and things to play. So it's giving you new goals, and then you have to work towards those goals again.
Man kann Tablets Geld machen mit insgesamt 4 Stats dann drauf, auch am nächsten League. Und alle Tablets dazu noch mal ein bisschen gebufft. Achso, man kann Maps nicht mehr Delirium machen. Kein Delirium mehr auf Maps drauf machen. Damit nicht alle Leute permanent einen grauen Filter haben. Generell Delirium macht nicht mehr so einen grauen Filter, sondern so ein Nebel jetzt an einem Bildschirmrand.
Do you foresee people
sieht deutlich besser aus, Delirium. Auch Performance verbessert.
Yeah, I mean,
25% mehr FPS für alle.
You'll do that. I mean, once you've defeated Azeri enough times, you've got the uniques from there, and you've done like other things like that. Then you absolutely will like probably want like for ultra end game play when you really want like the most challenging stuff, and you're just like looking to get like as many double corrupts as you can and stuff like that. You're probably going to want to keep the temple large and specifically not do the stuff that would cause it to destabilize.
If you
don't kill the architect and you don't kill Azeri, then it will it'll only pull you back. I can't remember the exact number of rooms, but there's some number of rooms that go away when it's quite full, and then yeah, you can just juice it really high and have really challenging in-game scaling tier of stuff. One of the things we're sort of concerned about is that there is some in-game content that just doesn't really scale as hard as it needs to scale in order to make it properly.
Deswegen kann man jetzt quasi aber über die gelben Tablets dann die Maps noch mehr skalieren. Das was vorher Leute dann bei Delirium gemacht haben.
Okay, so like designed to be pretty farmable
and
to be pretty late.
Light Armor, Lightning
it gets pretty hectic with all those mods, with how many rooms are on there and like.
But also just other things that you want to do, like so for example, at the start of the game, you can only you can't like store up temple runs, as it were. As you get into the game, then now we start to have it so that you can store up more runs, so that you can like map for a while, then like do a bunch of incursions.
I think we have it that
ja, das ist wichtig. Die neue League-Mechanik, dass man die so anstecken kann und dass man das dann über
and then temples and then 60 maps, then temples.
If you want, so
if you want, or you can do 6 then a temple, then 6 then a temple.
Also bist du 60 sozusagen so Tempeldinger anstecken?
Nice.
Alles gut.
I feel like with these things, like now I keep seeing like you guys.
Weil ich muss sagen, ich habe auch nicht, also das ist, was mir bei ein bisschen Depths und sowas gestört hat, da bricht immer so ein bisschen die Map, wenn sowas runtergeht.
Instead of having to craft inside the temple thing, like that's just a hard-learned lesson from PoE 1 where you just need to.
You say we thought of it, and I have, because I'm just going to bring it up, but like. And a thing about, and this is something that I'm on the fence about a little bit, personally, but yeah, the thing with the killing architect and Azeri, destroying a bunch of the temple, creating that clash of either farm temple or farm boss, can be quite a divisive thing for people.
Das Thema ist ja so ein bisschen so wie eine bisschen Depth quasi, weil man halt auch innerhalb der Map in eine Tiefe reingeht, aber man kann anscheinend den Eingang dafür aufdecken, dass man da wie später reingehen kann. Dann steckt man beim Mappen sozusagen die Eingänge dafür und macht das dann am Stück durch die Map-Mechanik. Das ist halt viel besser, viel sortierter.
Getting that right and feeling right will be important. It's honestly hard to say if it is right now, but it's a thing. We say we've thought about it, but it can be very easy to see that and be like, hey, they're doing the same mistake they've made last time. Which
Abyss ist jetzt auch Core.
You're not wrong. Except depending on honestly having
the
lever this time in place of
aber
how
noch
much it's destroyed instead of entire board reset kind of thing.
Und hat die Abyss Tree auch
we
jetzt.
get to control that a lot better and iterate on that if we need to. So
yeah, that's true. You've already
we've thought about it, but it can. I could see, because I was just thinking about it, going, I reckon people are going to get mad at this. And I was just looking at it, going like, the idea that it's like.
Es gibt auch ein bisschen Depths noch, aber nur wenn man halt ein bisschen auf die Map drauf macht.
Pick bosses or pick temple. It can be quite bad.
So yeah, that's clear then that you've kind of already got your hand hovering over the lever, waiting to like adjust it as needed.
Yeah, and it's honestly kind of hard to know with. I mean, even if again, it's
The thing with this sort of stuff specifically is you're talking about that's the type of gameplay that is hard to test internally.
Yeah.
Because how can you do just like you can't really test like what is weeks of grinding gonna feel like, you know? It's
So I expect us to maybe we hit the sweet spot. Who knows? Hopefully, but I could imagine that this is a thing that gets adjusted for sure.
Yeah, so you've made the like the ability to sell like the corruptions, the double corruptions as an itemizable thing you can just take away and sell. Is there any reason to like itemize the temple like we did in PoE 1?
Nah, so that was really more of a band-aid solution in PoE 1 because we didn't have an easy way to change that. Like I'd prefer that the temple is your temple and that you don't sell them, but just that all the rewards are the things that you can trade.
Also ein Tempel-Layout oder wie
trading the rewards was the reason why I did temple itemization in the first place. Yeah, just if this time we're just making sure to design the stuff in a way that can be take back that you can take with you.
No need for the Band-Aid in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
Also wie ich es mitbekommen habe, haben sie bei Crafting nur das Map-Crafting entfernt. Also das, was wir gesagt haben. Ich glaube, das hier Crafting ist gleich.
In the campaign.
Yeah.
And this is so when you're doing the temple, you're getting
noch
not just the opportunity, like, because obviously some of that double corrupt stuff, you're not going to do that at like level 8, you know? I mean, Varlobs aren't even in the game at that point. Yeah. So you have this thing where it's like, well, you don't get a lot of the crafting. Now, there are still rewards. There is, of course, all of that, but there's also just basic crafts like exalts and regals and stuff you can just throw on your gear. Now, you can't take those, and that is an intentional decision so that you feel like you're actually wanting to use it on your gear in the campaign and as you're progressing. And you're not, because if you can take it, most of the time you're just going to hoard it for in-game.
Right. So it's those things to make the early game have more crafting stuff that you want to just use right there.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, what stops you from just like keeping your results until end game?
Yeah,
you want to use those patches then.
You'll see those and go, I want to take that home, but just use it.
Yeah,
you know,
it was a substantial buff to campaign crafting from my experience of messing with it so far. It's like you go basically go in and there's like 6 crafting rooms and you're just doing a little crafting spree, like upgrading your gear.
Like, I mean the temple. We it's funny because there's always the question whenever we make a league of like, well, what if like. People always say, oh, there's no reason to do this during the campaign, and it's like really have to incentivize that to make it so that no, there's actually worth doing. Like you're going to get a substantial power boost if you decide to engage with the league.
Yeah, it seems like you can kind of like pull it off as well. Like you can be like, oh, my gear's kind of okay now. I'm going to do that a little bit later.
Well, you always want it to be both feeling rewarding and give you obviously an advantage, and also not feel so mandatory.
It felt like kind of a bit optional in the sense that like, oh, I really need some gear upgrades now. Let's go into the temple and spice up all my gear.
Auf Light haben allerdings besser gemacht, auch Indian mit Orbs.
And it is interesting that you've got this like raiding the broken down version of the temple in the beginning, and then it basically changes into this whole other thing halfway through the campaign. That story beat there.
The other thing about the campaign thing is the same thing we learnt from Abyss, where we did the area-specific rewards throughout the campaign. We have also dropping here. From the in-world encounters. So even if you're not doing the temples, doing the in-world encounters can give you that extra drop per area.
It seems like on the back end, maybe you've kind of taken what Abyss was doing and almost shifted it over.
Yeah. There's some modifications, but it's the same kind of thing.
Well, we've effectively got our, allocated amount of rewards and crafting and stuff for
was haltet ihr von dem Dings? Das wird wieder sehr anwendend sein. Wir lassen die öfter sterben. Dieses mit dem Körperteile austauschen. Man kann in der League-Mechanik seine Arme und Beine durch Roboterarme und Beine ersetzen lassen, sozusagen. Dass man sich selber modifiziert. Das sind permanente Buffs, die man da bekommt, bis man stirbt das nächste Mal. Dann sind die weg. Definitiv Hardcore-Vorteil. Und auch unter verschiedenen Klassen.
A great thing from PoE 1 to be returned.
One thing we've changed here is that because double corrupt existed in PoE 1, you never Varlorb gear. Well, I don't say never. Obviously, there are still cases, but generally speaking, why single corrupt it when you could double corrupt it? So we've made sure here that the double corrupt has to occur on top of a corrupted item.
That's cool.
Right. So yeah, you have to Varlorb land it, and then you have to land the double corrupt on top of that.
Oh man, it almost feels like you're in some cases risking something even more because like you've got that really high and unique with like a really good corruption already, and now you're risking that. You're not just risking a blank item on a double corruption. So like it's a heftier risk now in some cases.
I like it.
That's the Val spirit right there.
Like, oh man, this thing's already worth many divines at this point. I was like, oh no.
Some good streamer moments. So.
so you actually have to though, like it has to be crafted.
Yep, so you craft first and then you can apply the double craft.
Okay, cool.
Ein paar schöne Waffen kaputt machen beim Double Craften.
There as well to kind of
I didn't want Valops to just. I mean, you'd still use them on like waystones or whatever, but you know, I didn't want them to just be like never used on gear anymore because you'd rather just double corrupt it. And so it was a suggestion a developer made a while back, and I was like, that's immediately a win, and I almost want to change that in PoE 1 as well, but then I just forgot about it, to be honest. So, you know, I'm not sure if I do want to do that just before everyone maybe goes like, what the hell? No. But, you know, I like the idea, and I think it is an overall.
Ja, was, wenn du deine Beine und Arme als Druide austauschst? Ist das dann noch in Bärform so?
Which you had a little bit of in PoE 1 recently.
Deine Roboterkörperteile?
Corrupt uniques, and it replaces a random modifier on them.
Yes.
So this is limited to specifically Adziri. No, what?
Not Adziri, Val uniques. Yeah, so we initially, I really wanted to make it so you could just replace arbitrary mods on any unique. But the problem is, yes, it was just a can of worms that like was just not even possible to contain. Yeah, basically what we were like, okay, is there still a way to do this that's like not going to be quite so crazy? And then we were like, okay, if we can pick a subset of uniques, and we ended up going with Val uniques, you know, for obviously thematic reasons, then we can sort of make sure that like while it's still crazy, like there's still sort of insane interactions, we can kind of at least have somewhat of an understanding of what happens. But it does truly work where like it picks a random mod that's on the item and then replaces it with another random mod. So yeah, you can create some.
You can use it on non-Val. It works differently.
Huh?
I don't know. This is news to me. I didn't actually know that. What is that?
I think it's similar to Ancient Orb in PoE 1. So it like re-rolls. The idea here is like it's meant to work on these Val items because they've been like infused with royal bloodline blood. And so it's like the way it works on Val uniques is different to just random uniques where it's like, hold on, it works a bit more chaotically here and, you know, just changes the item entirely to something else on non-Val. So, and I only say that because obviously it's pretty bad to be like, I have to have a Val unique in order to use this. Now, no, you can take the currency home, so that's never the end of the world. But I want it to be like, you know, just go grab some random unique and re-roll it. Yeah, using it on the Val uniques is like quite cool. Right now, I'm trying to make sure.
Was sind Val uniques?
You know, a process that we've been doing is that we're not just replacing it with kind of just some random basic stuff. Like, that will happen. That is a part of the pull, but we're trying to go through, because we have a more limited set of uniques we have to actually do the mod replacement on. I want to make sure we're actually thinking about, for example, the Zerfi's body armor that has, like, Soul Leader. And it's like a level 39 base type. And I'm thinking, like, this is a tool we could use to make that more in-game viable. And so you can do things like heavily increase the defenses, because obviously level 39 versus a level 75 base type or whatever is going to have very different defenses. But then you could also be like, what about if we... Well, I was like, what other weaknesses does this item have? Well, you can't generate Soul Leader stacks on a boss.
Ich glaube, alle waren
Maybe
die waren alle ziemlich hyped über
on, you know, so all of a sudden you can replace, I don't know, the life regeneration rate with a Soul Leader now generates once per second while a boss is in your presence or something like that, you know. Now these are kind of examples, but that was a specific one that I really wanted to do. So, but then I was like, I don't know, what if you did plus 25 Soul Leader stacks and stuff? But it's like very specific outcomes, very specific to that unique.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do a bit
Manche
of
haben, glaube ich, gesagt, dass es ein bisschen langsam aussah, aber
save low-level uniques, you know what I mean, to make them more in-game viable.
Aber das ist halt immer die Sache, in Showcase sieht alles immer langsam aus, weil man es auf Speed gesehen Builds nicht zeigen kann, nicht schön. Und Skills und Animationen und so, bei Kampagnen-Gameplay.
So, you know, we'll see how it goes, but
das ist, glaube ich, das, was manche Leute
now,
Probleme
obviously,
haben.
because I don't know how far through we'll get with all of these specific, because it's like a lot of stuff. Once you start doing specific things with specific uniques,
so many
it's
things.
a lot of stuff to implement. So I don't know how far, but I was like, let's start with the mythic uniques, the rarest, most powerful ones, and we'll work backwards, getting to the more common, you know, ones at the end.
I mean, you've also got just the general like buffing of a bunch of other uniques as well, right? I mean, there's a lot of that.
Yes, true. And I mean, that was part of that when I was like, okay, how can we buff this? How can we buff this? How can we buff this? And then I was like, well, a lot of them are like, this is too low level, and I was like, well, we have this system in the league. So yeah, I mean. We'll see how it goes, hopefully, and it's the kind of thing where even if we don't, obviously these leagues end up often going core in some various means, so if we don't hit the mark entirely with all the uniques, I'd like to eventually get there where we'd have a good, cool, really thought out set for literally every Val unique. So hopefully that's fun, and then you do the cool things where you just get these really, really... I assume you're going to get some that have these... You replace the exact 2 bad sides with the exact 2... Because you can replace more than one sometimes.
Oh.
And you get the you get the exact, like, holy, this unique just went from being worth, something 1 divine to 300 divine, kind of territory. So hopefully that happens. If it doesn't happen, I'll be a bit sad, but we'll try. You can never know with these things for sure.
And this includes the new, like, Adzira uniques that she's dropping then, obviously, since she's kind of the queen of the Vale.
Yep, Adzira uniques, Trial Master uniques, a bunch of stuff. So
it's a fair few there then. Is that something that you anticipate expanding upon in the future then? Like,
I mean, we'll be always adding more Vale uniques.
Right.
So yes,
but in terms of for other cultures, that would probably come in a different form, in a different league mechanic or some other place like that.
Yeah, that makes
sense. Die hatten auch eben einen Corrupted Skill nochmal corrupted, glaube ich.
Yeah. Did you ever discuss the idea of Vile skill gems? It feels like weird to add that when you're still adding regular gems.
It doesn't quite. So, I mean, fundamentally what a Vile skill gem is in PoE 1 is like a kind of ultimate style ability in some sense, So it's like we're kind of doing that in our normal gems at this point. So it didn't really quite make sense to do it here.
The glory on the skills
glory
is kind of skills.
Yeah, that's what I figured. That it's kind of like you'd only be really doing it for nostalgia value at this point, I think.
Now, that isn't to say there won't be something in the future, but I agree that doing something like that when you haven't even got all the classes and skills in place and all that. I would say that's like a post-release feature, not a pre-release feature kind of thing.
Yeah. And are you still kind of with challenge leagues planning on having things like challenges, challenge rewards, etc. Post-launch?
So the plan for that was post-launch. It basically was kind of like during early access, it doesn't quite make sense to do that. But post-launch, we'll return to that again.
All right, shifting onto the topic of endgame, but first, just a brief detour. Trial of the Ancestors, or the mystery content in the new act, and our third means of ascending. What's the progress like?
Well, we don't have anything to say at the moment, but it'll need to come obviously at some point. But we didn't have time in this one certainly to work on that.
It keeps coming up. It is really just a matter of
So, das ist dann jetzt die Option.
At what cost, etc. The
Same,
the classic, just resource distribution kind of things where it's like, when are we going to do it? And what, instead of this, and we have all these different ideas. And so, but right now, nothing.
All right. So on Endgame, firstly, thanks for nerfing the Delirium Fog.
Yeah.
You saw the memes, I guess.
For sure.
So I've been enjoying all the foggy memes everywhere.
Das hat auch hart geleckt mit Delirium Fog gemacht.
Visibility improvement for the Endgame, but not only that,
performance.
You can just tone down the fog. You've done some pretty major things with the
Delirium
Breach
system.
I mean, the very first question, and before we even toned down the fog, the first question was, okay, well, why do you feel like you have to run every map this way in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Like the fact that something feels mandatory is already a problem, regardless of the fact that the effect is also annoying, so that was the first thing to solve. And it really then started coming into, okay, well, like how, like, people are finding Waystone crafting more annoying. We only made it more annoying.
Diese Dild Emotions sind ein bisschen mehr useless geworden dadurch eigentlich, weil die ja weniger Nutzen haben, außer halt was, also eigentlich nur auch was auf dein Ammo halt aufpacken.
So the first question is, well, how can we fix this problem, right? Like, and effectively we're kind of like, we can go two ways with this. We can either make it so that every league has something that feels mandatory that multiplies with the rewards, or we can say no leagues do, in which case it's more about like which league do you want to run for different, for various different content that they can provide. So we decided to go with no leagues do, because I think that it's probably just like less busy work, less annoying. Like if every league gave you something that you needed to like craft and do something with, it just would have been a pain. Which is why even in the live stream we're like, from this point on, just like Waystones, they all get regular, they'll have the regular crafting, just regular base currency, but we're never going to add to them again like a thing that requires you to do more crafting than that. Another layer of that, because I think that having to do that every map is too frequent. Doing it on the tablets means that it's just way less frequent that you have to do these things, which helps a lot. And then of course the question was, how can we make sure that we're not doing a nerf to overall juicing potential here? So then we had to look into like how you get back the like the power you had. So that's when we got into the extra mods on tablets and things like that.
Ich weiß aber, dass man die Tablets
sort that out.
Corrupt.
Now obviously you were hoping to do more endgame for this expansion. So what's kind of happened with the
Well, I guess the sort of two things that we see as like the major problems in endgame. One of them is when you get there, it can feel like you don't really have a proper goal. Like you don't have an immediate like, okay, here's a quest to do this and a quest to do that and that kind of stuff. So there's like a little bit of that missing, and that really is a content thing that just requires us to expand upon what a league is. Now, something like something like Fate of the Vaal, it immediately has story stuff to do and so on. So when when that goes to endgame later, you'll have like storyline things sort of built in a way that can like make it so you've got that. But the other leagues don't have that as much, so we need to really make sure we're expanding on those. But the other thing as well is the Atlas tree just needs a lot more love and attention and like the way that it works and all that sort of stuff. So we just need to do a lot more there.
I opened that tree yesterday and I was like, oh, this sucks.
It's a little tragic. Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah.
Like,
so,
ja, da wären ein paar coole Sachen, so ein bisschen spezifischer sein Loot verändern oder so was passiert, wäre cool.
Like actually modify things in cool ways and like actually really meaningfully do something. And that's just a lot of time and work to do.
Mir das halt mit Essenzen oder Small Spirits macht immer diese Dreier-Dinger finde ich immer gut, wenn man was auswählen kann. Hoffentlich ja mehr.
Well, I don't think we should be talking about that yet, just because that'll be it's more for later. But yeah, I mean, there's things we want to do.
Yeah,
there's stuff we want to do.
We're a bit of trying not to spoil anything here.
Yeah.
we obviously are spoiling the fact we are doing something. And I'll tell you, it's not even. It's not the same. It's not similar. Yeah. It's like it's in a whole different universe. So it's kind of like, which makes it a little bit hard because obviously we're in this state where we want feedback about the end game.
Yeah,
and so I do want to put like people should keep giving feedback because I don't want people to think they're reworking it in game anyway, so I'm not going to say anything.
Kommen die auch noch ein Secret-Ding auf den Game Awards?
Different parts of the in game that kind of are like
PoE
of the just things like how the Atlas tree works.
Yep.
So
but yes, that tree is effectively going to be completely reinvented. So that will get a full drastic change, and then the something that like PoE 1 with the whole complete your Atlas being a very clear, very obvious goal. Right. You just complete all the maps and you get your Atlas is complete. And then there's heaps more beyond that, of course. There's all the boss farming and all the different progressions and even that has like multiple quests throughout the main quest line with the different pinnacles and all that. We just don't have any of that really. It's just immediately into this infinite unguided adventure. And there's a little bit of things with the corrupted zones and bit of that and like, the burning monolith but it's
nominiert mich nicht mal, ich hab die da
mostly
sind.
Unguided. You don't really feel like you have like
mit dem selben Tag die League-Start ist auch so
thing now I'm going to farm, at the moment. It's pretty unsatisfying, I'd say. So really trying to drive that home. And then the other thing that honestly we spoke about upgrading the leagues and adding more bosses is like that whole like having King in the Mists and Olroth as the pinnacle bosses of the leagues just being like copy pastes from PoE 1 was not our end goal, you know what I mean? Like, they're a bit sad as pinnacles right now, and like, honestly, we need to up the epic a lot. So we've got a lot of that coming, and then just general upgrades to all the leagues.
Gut, ich finde die cool gegen den Mist und Allroad, aber wenn die so ein PoE 1 schon gibt, dann sind ja für meistens nichts Neues.
And, there's a bit of that going on. So just a general balance and via adding more content and different axes and all kinds of stuff. So there's heaps coming. But based on all that, to answer the original, is that's how you can see how it didn't make the cut, because it is a ton of work. It turned out to be way more than we had anticipated. And it was just like, oh, damn, we kind of talked about wanting to do an in-game upgrade, a big revamp in 040, and now we've got too much work, and we still believe it's the right thing to do, so we're going to commit. And normally we often get faced with the option, do we cut it down to make it fit, or do we commit to it all and do it? And I don't think in this case we could have cut anything without kind of just honestly making it look half-assed, to be honest. So we were like, no, we need to do it all, which means, unfortunately, yes, it's not going to make 040. But then we were like, well, we can't just now do nothing. So what can we do?
Well,
obviously, we're not just going to, because we're doing an 050, we'll just leave the fog alone.
Ja, ich muss noch Spiele streamen und dafür einstellen.
Really? All fogs, like the volumetric fogs in the game, have a cutout around the player.
Yeah.
That like cuts out and then tapers off. And
Auch
all
the
fogs
breach
in the
effect?
games, there's multiple different fogs, had it except for Delirium Fog. It was the only fog that didn't have this. So that was, well, like, we can start there by
Breaches
re-adding
can
it, and
doesn't
then
have extra
we'll
effects, so.
iterate until we feel like it's about right. But yeah, kind of sad when you look into these things and you're like, oh, damn. It was just broken the whole time. But either way, like, you know, a player doesn't know if it's broken or just intended. So obviously, fixing it is the important thing. But yeah, I know there's that guy on Reddit doing a post every day, and
They can finally rest.
your thank you for your service.
Your watch is complete. Yes, we can actually see the ground. It was just hilarious in some maps, whereas like they have holes in the ground, and like there's so much fog you actually can't tell where the holes are. It's like I can't move anywhere. It looked a lot better from the footage, so it's a big improvement for sure. So you mentioned that, but there was also another kind of key change that you wanted to make sure to get in this one, and that was the kind of like monster density getting swarmed issue.
Yeah, that's a very interesting one because so when we were
Ich denke,
doing
ein bisschen komisch, dass die Monster Density nochmal reduzieren.
this was actually already a thing that we were tabling and talking about. But we kind of thought that players probably wouldn't like it because the you know, like monster density can be a very touchy thing, right?
Ja,
But the funny
Breach
thing was is that
oder
what we found was that even
Business sollte
after
noch viel
we
Density haben.
like what we actually sort of heard more was like, oh, we actually liked what the improvements were early in game, and we actually would wish that the rest of the in-game was more like that. And we're like, okay, well, if that's the case, then like the main thing we have to do is not like nerf rewards, make sure that experience gain doesn't get lowered or anything like that. But you know, overall, we don't necessarily need as many monsters as what we were having in the top. And I think this is actually going to also just generally improve things because it makes, when monsters have more life like that, it makes more builds viable. Because like, there's obviously a point where like once you can one-hit everything, then there's no point in like you might as well just go for whatever the fastest thing that could do that is, right?
Yeah, the lightning speed.
Right. So effectively, by making it so that monster life's a little bit higher as you get up there, it sort of actually means that like higher damage builds become more useful. So
the need for having to target so many enemies goes down.
Exactly,
and thus
right.
You aren't just
in die
now
Area
funneled
und mehr
into,
halt.
So
the
mehr
highest
Single-Target.
AoE thing possible.
So it means that like things that are less AoE focused and more like, I mean, obviously you're still going to want AoE, you're still going to want to be clearing like that sort of stuff, of course. But like effectively, just by tweaking it down a bit, you just don't have the like so much need for everything to target quite so many things. And so you know, the sort of higher damage skills that are a bit less like, you know, not like more than a screen in size can actually be viable. And that should hopefully improve the situation there.
I want to make sure that even if people are like, but I prefer the swarminess, and it was fun for my build. And the thing is, like,
Ja, Swarminess ist schon cool, aber
speaking of like Atlas Tree, that's a thing where the Atlas Tree should be the thing thing that you can. It's like your build can do that. So like,
Density
I
erhöhen,
want to
macht
make
das Sinn?
sure, like,
Kann man halt für Breach
for
schon machen.
now,
Gibt's ja auch
not
2
doing
Punkte.
it, but I wanted to do a thing because we're doing this whole like monster effectiveness goes up more, right? I mean, it's a pretty hard thing to understand because monsters just get stronger with higher levels. So like it kind of just happens. You don't really. It's not like a thing you need to worry about or anything of the sort. But I want to do a thing where you can spec into making like on the Atlas Tree. You know, I guess this is a little bit of a forward spoiler, but we're adding a little bit of it in a few places. But I want to make sure that you can invest into making monsters tougher without increasing the number of monsters. Where like often it's just been pack size, and stuff like that. So. But then I would love to do a thing later where like you can convert that effectiveness increases you can get into like pack size. So it's like, you know what? Nah, I want the swarmy, you know, weaker monsters thing. And I don't want one to at that point you can make sure the conversion results in the exact same amount of drops and XP and all of that stuff.
That way you can incentivize. Well, you don't incentivize one or the other, right? Like it's more about what your build is, what you'd prefer, rather than being like everyone has to have most pack sizes possible.
Whereas right now, pack size is just a straight up multiplicative drops XP scaler. I mean, obviously not for rares and bosses, but you know it is, and for a lot of people, it's a multiplicative fun scaler. Right. And I don't want to take that away. Like I want people to be able to do that, but that's what the Atlas Tree should be able to achieve. However, it is too chaotic at a base level.
Right.
You get this weird thing where it's like the campaign has a entirely different vibe to the end of the end game now, where it's like you step into the end game, it's kind of a right, and then you get towards the end. I mean, at the start, for people who didn't play 031 onwards, it was just like, okay, I'm going through the campaign. It feels a bit more tactical. Feels a bit more, intention. My actions are more intentional. And then I get into endgame, I'm like, what the heck is going on? There's monsters everywhere. It's out of control. And so obviously 031 alleviated this a bit, but it is. I don't want it to be that there's this feeling of there's 2 games there. I want it to be that you build that extra layer, that you change it through your Atlas tree and through just decisions you make for the in-game, as opposed to it just being inherent. So if you want to, we're going to make sure that we try and keep it that if you want to make it more swarmy and that kind of stuff, you can, but it doesn't give you a drop advantage necessarily over the tougher monsters. There are reasons to do both. That's fine. There'll be heaps of mechanics and stuff, but like, ideally, you can kind of play the game you want to play the game. And so in our tree and our builds, much like you can play the character how you want to play your character, we can do that with the end game as well. And that's the beauty of the Atlas tree, and the keystones and stuff like that. So, but I can't. It's hard to get into more of that without getting into kind of spoiler territory. But
that's interesting to hear that you want to kind of make things a little bit less binary, where like in the past it often has been the case where it's just like, oh, you just stack as much of all of the things you can stack, or it's just stack as much pack size or stack as much rarity as you can, but maybe having angles for both of those things, like I'm juicing pack size, or I'm juicing difficulty and rarity with. I mean, that's exciting to me because I like the ability of being able to spec content that rewards your character that has low AoE, that is like really good at like dueling really tough rare monsters. And like, we did get to see a little bit at Imperial 1 where there was different strategies for juicing, where like you had like Titanic Scarabs or something that was making like really strong rogue exiles, and that took a specific sort of build to do. So it sounds like that's kind of the direction you want to head with that, which is pretty exciting to hear. And kind of tying into this topic then, and you touched on it a little bit, was like, there's definitely been, like, it's been noticed that rare monsters seem to drop the vast majority of loot in endgame maps, or at least compared to normal and magic monsters. There's a bigger difference, I guess, than has been the case in the past. And where are you guys at with, like, noticing or feeling that, or what problems do you foresee with that? It gets talked about a lot.
I don't think it's necessarily wrong that it's like that. One of the things we really want to try to make sure of in PoE 2 when we're sort of doing a sort of from scratch pass on this is that the amount of rewardingness of something is equivalent to the amount of difficulty that it takes to kill it. And that's kind of where like we're trying to normalize that, because by doing that, it means that we can try to get like we don't want a situation where like some content just is randomly just way more rewarding than other content. And so we're trying to just make sure that we're keeping tabs on that really well. And what that's kind of ended up with regard to the magic versus rare is, like we've got the balance of that where it should in an ideal would be the case that like, killing a rare versus killing a white monster is, does in fact drop the correct amount of rewards relative to each other. Now the issue can come with the fact is, what if your build can one hit either of them in any case? Well, so that kind of like changes, I guess, the way that feels a little bit. So, but as I said, it should be the case that rares drop more than white monsters, and white monsters can drop anything still. It's just,
it does make a certain amount of sense, but I guess like with what you were talking about, Mark, it seems like something you'll have to think about, because like if you want both strategies to be viable, like the pack size juicing, then there needs to be a reward, a payoff to that ultimately.
100%.
So that's something you'll be looking at then.
But yeah, I mean, as far as I'm aware, it really is the case that if you looked at entirely just around the life of the entity, the drops should be pretty equivalent to the amount of life that they had to, in order to kill them, as far as like, relative to each other. So if it's got 5 times as much life, it does 5 times as many more drops effectively. Like that's kind of what we're shooting for when we're trying to balance this stuff.
Yeah, I think with the balance of how things are and the options we have now, it probably makes sense. But yeah, it looks like something you'll be keeping close eye on moving forwards then.
For sure.
There's a bit of a parallel with one of the kind of issues I see in Path of Exile 1, where like everything is in reward icons, little floating symbols. And that seems like something you're trying to avoid moving forward.
We haven't really been doing that for a little while now. There was certainly a period there in PoE 1 design where it was like every single league was just like those reward icon type things, and it ended up really beiging the rewards a lot, because you just had this thing of like, every league drops, every other league's drops, and it kind of didn't really, like it wasn't really that great. So I mean, it's going to be a little while since we've done that stuff in PoE 1 even, and in PoE 2 we kind of steer away from it to make sure that like, everything feels like it's got distinct drops and a reason to do it and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it appears in some regards. Like, for example, when you get the reward rooms in Fate of the Vow, you have a unique item room.
Sure.
Like, but it's not just like a floating symbol above the monster.
Right.
Yeah.
Which also, immersively, I don't know what the heck that is, but what is it? Is some It's just nothing. It's a clear and just obvious game mechanic.
I see some like floating, glowing cash money dollar bills above your head. Guy's loaded.
Whoa. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. You can't have my loot. But I just remembered you spoke about rare monsters, and I was like, hold on, did we? I don't think we deployed or spoke about this change, but I know that taking away all the rare minimap icons was a bit anger-inducing. Because honestly, we knew it. We knew it was going to be.
Yeah.
Now, they aren't a requirement of the map, but as you're saying, they kind of drop a lot of the loot, and people were just doing the whole coasting between minimap icons. The middle ground we've come to here, which I think is quite cool, is once you've activated all the checkpoints in the map, which sometimes is 4, 2, you know, the things for fast traveling and respawning, then all of the things
appear on the minimap. You know, the funny thing is I thought we already deployed that.
I don't think we have.
Okay, right.
That's what I was just remembering.
We intended to deploy that back when people were complaining about it, and I feel like maybe we just kind of forgot. But
so
that was implemented a while ago.
Play your map. You generally find the checkpoints. If you're in a straight line map, there's one at the start, one at the end. How the heck are you missing rares? Anyway,
in der Oasis gibt es immer den einen in der Ecke, wo halt meistens Red steht, den man vorbeigehen kann.
Everything. Every icon.
Every
icon, also auch.
Rogue Exiles you missed.
So you can find if there's any content that you still wanted to grab.
Vielleicht gibt es den ganzen Bonus-Content halt. Oh, da ist nochmal ein Breach, den ich halt nicht über die Map drauf gemacht habe.
Okay, if you want to waste time.
Right. But you're going to clear the map while you're doing that, right? So you probably clear the whole map anyway.
Yeah, so it's kind of meant to be like, look, you've explored at least, I mean, like, if there's generally speaking, if you've got like a big square or circle map, you're going to have 4 checkpoints. You activate all 4. You've at least explored probably 75% of the map, right?
Yeah, it's about getting those last things, and
then it's like, okay, look, you're now allowed to see if you missed anything.
But then you can also use the checkpoints to get to the closest place where the stuff you missed was, which is kind of nice. So yeah, it kind of helps with that. So we did finally find a solution.
I'm hoping this is a good middle ground. Because yes, then at least you've done 75% of the map, probably without just doing blind mini-map gameplay. And then from that point on, it's like, look, yeah, I get it. You probably missed something. You know where it is now. It should actually maybe overall be even more helpful because it's not just revealing the rares. It's going to reveal even more. So you'll know about everything else you missed. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I understand that was a bit of an aggravation for a lot of people. But, you know, that's a perfect example of, again, it's, you know, it's why I don't want people to not give feedback. Because like this kind of stuff still should be fixed pretty imminently, and so yeah, it's
a good case study. Because I'm honestly surprised that you did do that, because this seemed like I loved the rare icons, but I was definitely a victim of the like I'm only looking at the minimap now, so it kind of seemed like a change for our own good situation. But what you're doing here,
this is a good middle ground.
Yeah, it seems like it's saving the players that feel like that they're FOMOing because like, oh, I know I missed like a league mechanic in the map somewhere after this, like that is really bumming me out, and then they have to go and crawl back through everything and waste a bunch of time. So that's just kind of saving them that. Sounds like a good compromise change. Then nice little extra bonus reveal there. Good stuff.
Yeah, you just said rare monsters, and I just had this random like.
Good.
Wait,
what more words can I say?
Probably should have put that in the live stream if we hadn't deployed it yet. But yeah, everyone forgot.
It's in the Q&A. Good stuff. Yeah. We shall move on to kind of gear and passives, and this is in the topic of balance and character power. And this sort of stuff has been talked about a fair bit. Something that's mentioned a lot is that the ratio of player power that comes from gear versus what comes from ascendancy and passives is much more tilted towards gear than in Path of Exile 1. And for an example, like the average PoE 2 passive is like 10%, whereas the PoE 1 passive is 16%, whereas the amounts on gears are pretty
similar. Wo du auf den Test draufgreifen kannst, dass du immun gegen alle Ailments bist.
Consistent as tier 1 affix between both games, meaning that like more of the power has kind of been shifted away from the tree, the thing that you get by default, to gear. So this seems like a conscious decision to make gear more powerful. Is there something like you've thought about or made like specific strides towards?
Probably the main thing that we wanted to do in PoE 2 was make it so that the tree is more like we're trying to be more stringent about how the tree is multiplicative with what your gear does. That does make gear more important. I wouldn't say there's necessarily been a thing of like necessarily wanting to the amount of power overall that you get from one and the other is more unbalanced, but it's just making sure that like when you are using the tree that it's specializing your character more towards what the bonuses that your gear is giving you to kind of make the two things together like be sort of important to be thinking about both. So that was kind of our primary goal, but I don't know if you've got a different feeling about any of that.
It certainly wasn't like the passive tree being weaker. Like I guess we didn't really even think about it in the point of comparison. We just kind of like went back then. We went really back to the basics and evaluating a lot of our base balance, and so it wasn't like let's nerf it compared to PoE 1. It was more just like what do we want gear to do? What do we want the passive tree to do? What do we want? And all of that at the end of the day is just relative to then how do we want the monsters to scale and which they're all different, right? The way that the monsters scale per level isn't the same. The way that the tree and thus the tree benefits are different. The gear is different, and everything. So again, not really. It was conscious decisions, but not conscious decisions to like nerf from PoE 1 or anything of that sort. That being said, yes, I mean couple other things. I mean, we made, for example, the decision that like we wanted the class stats on the tree to be weaker than the exterior. So generally the nodes are meant to go up a little bit in power as you get further away, so you don't just get the like class hopping kind of thing that historically occurred in PoE 1 quite a bit.
The class stats were stronger than
you get the M on the top and stuff like that. And so that was a decision we made. But yeah, I mean, I guess we did kind of have like we want gear to be more important, especially base gear. I think we maybe overcooked it a little bit right now, but and just a little bit with more the ease of it, the ease of getting it. But that's a whole crafting discussion, I guess.
Talk about that too.
More of an in-game problem. But yeah, I would say, I mean, I'm personally pretty happy, honestly, with how it is.
Just that like ratio of importance of gear compared to passive. I guess like it's a question of how much power do you get for free, right? Like ultimately that's what it comes down to is like if my gear is, if I'm wearing all white gear, like how powerful is my character from just the tree? And that's like a little bit lower, I think, in PoE 2.
And the reason for that
bothers some people, I guess.
The reason for that specifically is because the tree is more multiplicative than it was in PoE 1, where there was more just base stuff, there. I mean, you can look at it even in simple things like, just life on the tree, for example, right? Like that's sort of another example of part of the thinking there is like,
Kein Life auf dem Tree.
The more base stuff is available on the tree, the more the same characters can be because they can just allocate the same stuff and get the same stuff without having to worry about the items. So yeah, that's kind of
obviously
just
that's not entirely base in PoE 1, but you have base life. As in life without gear.
Yeah. And where are you at on the life thing? Just like since you brought it up, I guess like still pretty happy with the decision to like remove that from the tree.
I mean, look, we just wanted to. We just didn't. It's more of that decision's mostly about not wanting every character just another one of those cases of every character being the same.
Like
it's like we'd rather you specialized in the defense that relates to your character rather than just the same stat that every character should use. So we'll just have that general feeling.
I mean, we've obviously still got imbalance here, and there's obviously still work to do. Never ending. So, like, the tree will just continue to evolve, and, like, we added a lot of passives at some point that are a lot more powerful, and we intend to keep doing it, and now we've obviously just...
Kriegen wir mehr Life Notes beim Druid irgendwo da.
Like, we added more, like, Ignite support around the Mercenary, for example, this time, like, as in 040, we're doing that, and then there's some changes to, like, more
We added more Ignite, isn't in 040.
Like, we were, like,
irgendwann.
Looking at shotguns and trying to see how can we have them scale. And it's like, well, it turns out if you get a bunch of piercing with prod speed and some other stuff,
20 Uhr hat angefangen.
You can shoot them across the screen, and so like, well,
coolsten Sachen sind schon durch.
Oh, there's not many, So we're doing a bunch of like little increments like that, just based on what builds need. I know bleed needs a bit more love in the bottom right, and so to make it not just entirely all blood mage spear users and that kind of thing going on. So. Again, it's going to just, honestly, we'll just do more and more and more and more and more on the tree. I suspect you'll get more. I'm not saying I'm going to increase the value of every node, but just by the nature of how many more things you can invest in and multiplicative elements, you're probably going to end up with a lot more power coming from the tree than what you do right now. But I actually prefer it doing it that way than just increasing all the numbers anyway. Because at the end of the day, if we then increase all the numbers and then it turns out the game is like too easy, well, then you have to nerf something somewhere or just buff monsters, and then you kind of end up in kind of the same place. So it's like, what did you actually achieve?
So with the like approach to life then, which I feel like makes sense, like not wanting the trees to like look the same and whatnot, how do you feel about, like, why does ES kind of get a separate treatment when it ultimately, although it's a defense like evasion and armor, it functions much more like life? Because there's a lot of ES scaling and ES numbers are
Energy
pretty
is
high
from
compared to
COP.
life, and definitely
I mean, that's a current balance issue for sure, but like, you know, just because it happens to function more similar to life, they're all at the end of the day a form of effective HP, right? So, I mean, they just, as long as they're not entirely symmetric, which is what makes them interesting, which is why one works this way and the others work a different way. And but yeah, I mean, there's clearly a misbalance. I mean, you got issues with Ghost Dance obviously being a bit hectic, and I guess going to start listing off things I'm going to nerf, I suppose. But you know, like, I don't know. There's changes to be done here. There's a few changes coming, but we're at the point where I still look at it and I'm like, I'm pretty sure ES is still going to be pretty crazy. That being said, it's like, you know, I don't want to make any last minute kind of knee jerk reaction and nerf kind of things around this. So like, because we've changed and rebalanced so much, it's really hard to know, and even changes to how the monsters scale and whatnot. It's kind of hard to know exactly how things are going to play out. So it's this kind of thing where I'm like at the point again where I'm like, all right, let's get all these changes out, see how the metas evolve, see what's good, see what's bad, and then like reevaluate it again. So ES is worse, but I don't think it's honestly, I don't think it's nerfed enough, to be honest. Is kind of where I'm at with that. So, but we'll see.
We'll nudge in the right direction, perhaps. But I know in the past when we talked about this, we discussed around the idea of like letting energy shield values be high, but really focusing on the recovery side of things and making that like you just said, like making things not homogenous, making things different. Like life's really easy to recover, but energy shield's much harder to recover. Like you still kind of.
That is still the intention, yes. That is still the intention.
I like that.
It's just really easy for all of a sudden some cool design to come out, and then all of a sudden it's just a completely trampled recharge. And then it's just like, well, now why do I care, you know? And I mean, like, it's okay sometimes if it's like via an insanely, like, I mean, Essentia Sanguis is a perfect example of doing this, right? Like, it just straight up ES leech. And the thing is, like, I don't want to take that away. I just, you know, there's a level of, there's some balance to do and or commonality to do. Like, if that's a thing you strive for and can eventually achieve, and now your character's like freaking god tier, that's exactly what like high-end unique items should do. So in this case, you know, I know we're making that item rarer. Hopefully that doesn't affect the economy too much with some me giving that away. But on standard, sorry. But at the end of the day, I would rather do that than just gutting it. You know what I mean? In this case. But yes, those things are allowed to break the rule. But I very much want to push ES to be recharge based. And as I said, historically, it's again, you just come up with a bunch of uniques and want to do all this cool stuff. And all of a sudden, we've added in another way to completely not care about recharge, and you're getting ES back some other way. So, and that happened, and more and more and more of that came about, and all of a sudden now, you pretty much just got this insane life pool that's permanently full, and it's like, wow, why would you not do this? Obviously, you'd do this. So,
I imagine there's a lot of incomplete picture going on here as well, where you're still missing classes and archetypes and skills and parts of the passive tree and thing as well. It probably makes it hard to like commit too hard to certain areas of balance when it's such an incomplete picture.
Yes, and it's also just honestly a time issue. We're adding all this new stuff while having to also correct all the existing stuff, and then the new stuff is like, how fast can the new stuff break the existing stuff, and how fast can we then fix that? And it's you know, when I say break, I mean balance break. You know, it's to the point where it's like all these new variables are being added as we're trying to fix all the existing variables and balance them, and these new variables are like, you know, it can be hard, like real difficult. When you're at the point where you're not adding so much new stuff, you can just catch up get to a point of stability, and for sure it's there. But like we have expanded. Like I've got 3 new people. I don't know if new. I've kind of taken a few people that were more balance oriented out of our QA. I mean, some of our QA people are kind of elite. You know, I don't know if I should say who they are, but some of them are off, you know, top hardcore ladders and stuff. And I'm like, well,
Cool.
look, they do know what's going on. I'm like trying to teach them the philosophies and how to do all this stuff. And so I've got 3 new people doing that. So hopefully, and historically, we've had quite a limited number of people actually doing balance. It's quite hard. It's actually one of the harder things to have a good feel for. And if you put the wrong person in that position, who knows where you'll end up. So it's really important to make sure that obviously these people understand the philosophies and are trained well, and you know you're being cautious with it. But yeah, I got 3 new people with that, so much larger team in the future. So I'm hoping we can tackle a lot more, and we're not just going to be up to like 1 or 2 of us. I mean, historically it's been pretty much me and Andrew, and that's it.
So you've got your elite squad. You're building your elite squad of balanced ninjas now. To
pretty much, yeah. And
shield.
I mean, if we end up with like 5 of us, it's a very, very considering I also have to do the leagues and the end game and the monsters and the bosses and oversee all of that. It's pretty hard to also be able to find a lot of time to sit there with the spreadsheets and with the game and going, what does this build do? What can it do? So getting more people there is going to be a game changer for the future in terms of, you know, what we're able to actually balance, and we probably will be able to do a new class and keep the game up to date in a much better way and keep iterating on this, because we've got a lot more work to do. Like, I don't want people to ever think that we're just like going to stop with this stuff. I mean, PoE 1 hasn't stopped after forever, and often you want to keep metas fresh. You want to update. You want to make new. There's always you make bad things good, good things bad. Well, you know, bring them in. Not, you know, whatever.
You want to make good things bad, quotable time.
Yeah, I was like, maybe not that. But the, you know, it's been a pretty tight resource the whole time, and yeah, having more of that is going to honestly be a game changer. So I'm very keen to see how that's going to play out, you know, especially over the next few expansions, and see where that goes and what it allows us to do, and have less of that picking our battles, and let's fight more battles, you know. That's fine, which, yeah, should be cool.
Cool. On the gear power level side of things, plus to all skills has been talked about a lot, and even you guys have mentioned in the past, like it exacerbated things like mana issues that people were having. It's obviously very powerful and available in very high quantities. And I think it exacerbates other issues like uniques being less viable because they don't have them, for example. And it does seem to be of a power level that's like overriding other aspects of gearing. Like it becomes kind of a make or break stat in many cases. Where are you guys at with feeling on the plus skills issue?
Well, the original theory behind it was that we wanted to make sure, like for fizz weapons, you always had this like IPD, you know, increased physical damage that was always kind of effectively mandatory stat on those weapons, and you know, it was something where like you would like you know, like you sort of had this baseline of like, you know, some kind of multiplicative way to make the weapon better, and effectively plus skills on staves and wands was supposed to kind of fill that sort of same multiplicative approach, where like that was a thing that you, to make the difference between a bad spellcast weapon and a good one. That was kind of the idea, to kind of try and get that to so the items mattered more for spellcast weapons. But I think maybe like there's just kind of like, we probably need to have to look at it, but I'm sure Mark, you've got more theories about it.
I mean, we need to change something.
Right.
100%. I mean, I know this, like, you know, we obviously have the illegal mod, the old Essence of Sorcery, giving that extra +1 to focus, the +3 to focus foci, and the old homogenizing for getting the +3s on amulets. By the way, they're gone. Goodbye homogenizing.
I was ready for that one.
They were illegal for other reasons.
Don't know how people are going to feel about that. I'm not sure if I should look at the chat over there and see if it's a W or an L, but whatever, they're gone. It was adding an insane amount of complexity to crafting. And, but anyway,
I particularly was... I particularly was like, I actually don't like crafting mechanics that cause you to have to think about mods in the exact way that they needed you to think about them. So, you know,
how do you mean?
Well, it's a bit tricky. I mean, it's like a whole other conversation probably. But yeah, like they I don't think that that they were quite right for PoE 2. So yeah.
But anyway, that's kind of off the
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
I just randomly just started talking about stuff
We'll talk more on the
It's real easy to just pivot to start listing nerfs and things you're removing for some reason.
Calm down.
Sorry, but yeah, there is an issue. I understand it. I understand the whole. I have this perfect wand. But I've got triple T1 prefixes, but I don't have the gem level, so throw it on the floor, right? I mean, that's kind of generally it. It's like if it's missing that mod, it's trash, right? That's the bad feel. It's like I did everything right except for that, and it's terrible. And yeah, we were trying to create a thing where it was like similar to, well, like, how do you itemize as a attacker?
Right.
And it was like, how can we have it be not just identical on a caster, but kind of have the same level of complexity of how to get
and in particular
power.
that still have the same level of an item actually matters, right? Because traditionally in PoE 1 you had this thing where if you didn't want to have to worry about itemization very much, then like spellcaster was the thing you could do. And we kind of did want to still try to like have it so that items do matter on spellcasters as well.
So why then does it seem like for a lot of people it doesn't work? Like, because IPD doesn't seem to attract ire.
Yeah, I don't fully understand that. I think the mana cost thing might be part of it for sure. Increasing the mana cost, but
I suspect at the end of the day it's because there are multiple ways to create an attack weapon that are good.
Right.
Even it's more than one way. A fizz weapon is not the only way.
Right.
Whereas a caster weapon doesn't really have that.
Right.
Like
that might be it.
And that's it. It's just it's if you don't have that mod, bad. If you do have that mod, it's fine. And that's it. It doesn't matter what the rest is necessarily doing. There's not really much other choice. And so that honestly can be enough where it's like you instead of reducing the plus gems, you could create many different options and maybe it's still fine. Like plus gems is one way, or there's this way, or there's this way, and that way it's like, yeah, sure, there's more opportunities, but yeah, right now it's just either good or bad, very binary. And
it is quite hard to think of multiplicative ways to improve spell damage though. Like that was a real challenge when we were even looking into that, if I recall.
It's weird to me that like added damage on a caster gear isn't doing that more. Like maybe it's because like so much of that's already available in the game through other means or something. I don't know. Like because that is effectively added flat damage in the same way that plus gems is.
Added flat damage on caster gear doesn't exist.
Extra damages, I should say.
Extra damages there. Yeah. Added damage we removed because you just ended up doing a damage effectiveness on then every single skill to the point where it ended up being...
I wasn't in love with damage effectiveness having to exist because I find it to be a bit confusing for people. Like, I don't love that, and so I was kind of really hoping to avoid it. I did have this sort of feeling, though, back when we did that, of this inevitable, like, we're probably going to have to add it back again one day, and I'm not going to like that. Because, like, it is a very useful tool, but yeah, I think it's just... I think it kind of sucks as a thing, personally. I'm just not a fan of it.
The damage is extra...
That's another take on that.
I mean, that's we've done. I was just thinking of another change we've done here. So obviously, I'm pivoting a little bit, but it's still talking about caster weapons. So we'll say it's related. But in 040, we are doing a change where, even though we're not changing the plus spell so much, we are making it so that you can't essence +3 spells on the foci, which I said before. Just to be clear, that is a change. But the other thing we're doing is we're taking it's the runic and glyphic equivalent of spell damage on foci and for all the different damage types, and just saying they can't generate on foci now. And I think we're in the end game, we're then increasing the base energy shields a little bit. It doesn't. I know people, oh my god, you're making energy shield better. Don't worry, it makes like no real difference overall with the other changes in mind. But the idea is being that a wand and a foci should be slightly more defensively enhanced, not offensive compared to a staff. And so one thing we've done is we said all staff prefixes, so that's the damage is fire, the element damage is the types, it's the just increased specific damage, increased spell damage, mana, I don't remember what else, the prefixes. Those are all now double wands as opposed to, I think it was 50 to 55% higher than wands, give or take. So if you want... Like it just adds more reason to want to use a staff. So the staff prefixes are double wands, whereas a wand plus foci is not giving you... Well, it was pretty much giving you more damage. I actually think it was.
Hallo
The staff would have been able to.
Definitely not,
So
right.
at least now staffs are going to be better. But that isn't anything to do with the gem level problem. It's still obviously its own problem. But it's again just talking about a little bit of like overall improvements to just like finding different types of gear where it's like, well, why do I want the staff when I can have
schönen
a
guten
bolt
Abend.
and a
I mean, you
focus
actually
every
made a
time?
ton of changes to just weapons, like generally, right?
Geht gerade um
In terms of
Waffen.
the progressions and
Melee-Waffen
stuff.
versus Caster-Waffen.
Yes. So when we were adding the talismans for the druid,
Plus Skills versus Weapon
we were like,
Damage.
what do we want all the in-game base types to be? What do we want the damage in the campaign? And what we then started looking into was a lot of the other weapons going, well, what were they doing? And then I was looking at things going, well, this doesn't seem right here, and this doesn't seem right there. And you get these weird things which people probably don't honestly appreciate, maybe. Where it's like you're upgrading your weapons, you're going from like random
werde wahrscheinlich PoE
examples.
spielen nächste
I don't
Woche.
actually know if this is true. I'm just going to hypothetically.
Ich werde
It's
vielleicht
like
in der
you go
Nacht
from
kurz
200 mace to
reingucken.
3 to 200 mace 4, you know, you're going
Aber dann nochmal
full on
pennen
the-
gehen
I
und
don't
dann
know
am
what
Abend
the
PoE
names are.
starten.
And then all of a sudden, like 200 mace 5, it's got some implicit on it, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. But the
Der
damage
wichtigste
is actually,
Change,
the base
also
DPS
die
of that
wichtigste
weapon
Funktion für
is actually
D4.
lower than the one before it. That was like 6
Oder der
levels
interessanteste
lower.
Change mit nächster
And you're
Season
like,
kommt erst im
I
Januar.
don't know if that
Das sind die
damage is
Leaderboards
worth
und
the
der
trade-off
Tower.
of the implicit. And so
Das, was mir am meisten interessiert.
It isn't, yes. The
Kommt
valuation
halt
of
nicht
the
am Start der
implicits,
Season.
damage
Bisschen
penalty
scheiße.
was mismatched in a lot of spots. And so you get these things where every third weapon in the campaign is just like a random DPS drop. And so we're changing all of that as much as we can, at least.
The thing is, you might not even necessarily
Also vielleicht doch ganz
recognize as
gut.
a player.
Kann ich
because
in
generally
nur
speaking, you
Dezember
just, like,
PoE
you see
spielen,
a
Januar
weapon
dann
that
D4.
drops and you're like, okay, what's the DPS of this compared to another one? You're not necessarily thinking about the fact that there's a new upgraded weapon type, or that's like, or that should have been higher. So what it ends up being is there's just a whole of like 20 levels go by where it's like I can't get a weapon upgrade, and it's frustrating. And that's what it actually feels like when you actually play it. But in
Ja,
reality, what
PC.
it was is that
Ich stream gerade schon über
the
neuen
weapon
PC,
type that
ja.
was supposed to be an upgrade is actually a downgrade.
Also muss auch viel einstellen.
That's something that Mark immediately we saw it. He was like, okay, we need to
we're
do
doing a
something
little
about
bit more. I don't know if
Also
we're
wir
going to get
patchen
through
noch
all
so
the weapons, but we're
heute.
trying. Whereas like you get to end game and it's like, okay, what's your fast weapon? What's your crit weapon? What's your just
lass mal.
standard good weapon? And then here's implicit A, implicit B, implicit C, you know. And then it's like, which one's your bonk weapon? Like, which one am I just going to bonk things with? The slow, heavy hitter. And trying to just do a lot more of that and make sure there's all the in-game choices for all of these weapons, bunch of different cool implicits, changing some of them around, just reevaluating the damage of them all, just the base DP. So generally speaking, pretty much all of them going up across the board in little ways. Like, they're not, nothing make or break, but like, it's enough of a thing that as you're going through the campaign, you're not just like, where the heck are my upgrades? And also at the end game, just increasing a bit of the choices of different base weapons you could use for different builds and whatnot. So
Aber genau der Punkt, den ich mit Waffen angesprochen habe, ist der Grund, dass ich eigentlich lieber als Deckklassen spiele, anstatt Casterklassen.
matters, like in changing the staffs and all of that stuff, it does,
Weil ich mir so nach
you
dem
know,
Waffenschaden
contribute to the
gerne
overall picture
richte,
of just things feeling good.
anstatt das mit den Plus-Skills.
And you know, it's another one of these things where it's like, yeah, we
Ist irgendwie angenehmer.
just in the process of adding the druid weapons, we were like, well, let's go do the rest of this right as well while we're at it. So yeah, we've still got a bit more to do there, but I don't know if that will come in this, you know, week to come and or as opposed to afterwards or something like that. But we're just going to try and do as much as we can. So even if not all the weapon types are in the patch notes, it isn't to say we aren't going to do the rest of them before the end of next week, because it doesn't take too long to do them. But you know, at the same time, you don't want to rush it and mess it up. So yeah, I don't know, just a random thing.
I think people are increasingly souring
Das
on
zum Beispiel
rarity
am PC.
on gear,
Kann ich jetzt mal
especially
das
now
nachgucken.
that it affects currency drops, and which makes it feel very mandatory, right? Because like, what do we play for? Currency, obviously.
Well, don't you worry. We've had our, you know, every 3 months discussion of talking about rarity and what we're going to do with it.
Well, I think we nerfed it again, didn't we?
We did a little bit. We cut off some of the top tier mods, so just the overall amount of it is lower. It's a stopgap. I don't quite know. We haven't come to an exact decision, but like, it is true that it feels like every change we're making at this point is getting slightly closer to just it despawning.
Keep having those meetings then.
I will get rid of it eventually. It's just that we need to find we need to find the mods that can replace it in the mod pools that like in order to make it work. And it's like, this is the annoying
gibt's Patch
thing.
Notes 23 Uhr?
It's like if we just removed it right now, there just wouldn't be enough of a mod, like the mod pools wouldn't work.
There is an interesting thing we see where and I don't like, for sure it is understandable, but we see a lot of videos being made with just absolute 1000% misunderstandings of how it all works. And which probably isn't helping its cause in any way, because it has all these hidden DR things and just a bunch of hidden mechanics in it. But yeah, there's certainly a mass amount of misunderstanding as to how it works, and people going, look, it does exactly this change, and it's like, it's not even doing 1/10 of what you're saying it's doing. That being said, I'm not saying it's not a problem. It is 100% a problem, but there is certainly a mass misunderstanding with, again, because we don't even explain it anywhere. It's just this hidden, there's some formula somewhere, that no one has access to, except for us.
And you've always been a bit secretive on drop-related stuff in particular, and like, you guys kind of happy to keep it that way for that one, or is it something you're like, misinformation?
We wanted to make it clear. We wanted. Okay. We were like, why don't we just get rid of the DR and find a way to make it work and actually display the actual value? But that is at conflict of removing it. So, there's a little bit of like, we just got to pick our direction here. And
it's inherently unclear even to us in some sense. Like, we can't say like the number of the okay, that sounds a bit weird, but what I mean by that is like, it's not like that when you get that it just increases currency. Like, it's through like 10 layers of like different ways things work that kind of result in an overall amount, like overall in currency increasing.
You mean like the content people are playing and stuff?
Not
just that, but even in terms of just the way the system works, right? Like, it's a very indirect method by which currency is increased. It isn't just that we drop. It's not just like there's some code somewhere where it's like increase currency by this amount. Like, it is actually like it is a result of multiple systems on top of each other working to result in that, and that's why like the only way for us to even know like what it even does is by simulating actual drops from actual monsters in order to work out what it actually did. So yeah, it's like sort of, I understand that might seem strange, but it's because like the drops are complicated. And there's like so many things we've done over the years to kind of like massage them in various ways. Even like what the relationship between the number and the can even be. I
think the takeaway is Jonathan said he's removing it.
I want to get rid of it. We just need to find a thing to replace it within the mod pool.
Like, and that's very, very difficult. Okay, I don't need to understand it.
It's exactly the same conversation if we bring up what Dex gives as a it's like it's 100% the same type of problem.
So what should Dex
Jesus,
give?
Don't make Dex give rarity.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Dex scales currency drops.
Yeah, exactly.
Through several layers of abstraction.
And gold find if you're a wyvern.
Only if you're a wyvern.
Yeah, just for dragons.
Makes sense.
Cool.
Oh, no. Okay. On the topic of balance for damage types and damage scaling, lightning damage seems like a clear cut winner at the moment overall.
Lightning Damage ist besser als alles andere.
More raw damage, having access to shock.
Der Flat Damage ist aber höher im Endeffekt.
Even having its own kind of version of stun through electrocute, and I guess separate problems with, like, for example, fire and ignite. Where are you guys at with like the balance between the elements and
I'm not going to say that they're now equal, but like a few things. So
Jetzt kannst du ihn noch nass machen für Lightning.
15% more max damage, notable. That's now 10. We've done, I think all of the skills that had multiplicative shock effect are now increased, so they stack additively with the tree. So, it's honestly just like a whole bunch of different little things. Lightning rods are nerfed at endgame, just while we're here. Don't worry, lots of things are buffed.
Lightning rod nerf.
That aren't tons of things that aren't lightning builds necessarily. Nice. But no, some are as well. But yeah, it's. I don't want to just make it about let's gut lightning. I want to make it be like, well, let's make these other things feel cooler and more special. So it would be very easy to just go and gut lightning across the board. But that just seems like an overall net loss of fun. I'd much rather, find ways to incentivize the others as opposed to just take away the thing that currently is, kind of enjoyable. So, again, it's more important to not just nerf. Oh, now they're equal. I won't say we're there yet, but the problem is obvious. So at least it's not.
And you don't really want things to be like the same power level ultimately. Like, it seems like, one of them should be more damage, and one of them has like more utility, like cold with freeze and chill.
Well, for sure, like cold.
But ultimately, people aren't going to accept if one element has more clear speed than another. So, like, while it may not be damaged directly, it is in some indirect way it needs to translate to damage on some level.
I mean,
because, you need to, it needs to, or rather, it needs to indirectly translate into clear speed in some manner, right? So, that's
unless you're making the monsters 40% stronger.
Well, but that's what I mean, right? Because
and then you're freezing them.
Yeah, I mean, because we're doing that, it means that it ultimately means that the higher damage, smaller AOE, like not having to actually rely on arcing all the time to be able to get the massive AOE can kind of like make a difference. So even just that change alone can shift the meta like a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like fair amount of changes to like the passive tree scaling for lightning and stuff like that.
Yeah, shock. I mean, shock is pretty hectic.
Yep.
Kind of, you have this thing where it's like, okay, well, let's say even cold. Obviously, you can freeze more often, but then often the boss is sitting or the monsters are sitting in there. Then, poise timer before they can be CC'd again. You don't have any real control over that. And chill, well, chill has a maximum magnitude of 50, so you can't really scale. So, like, already alone, you can 5x the power of a shock, because I think the cap is 100, and in some cases, Stormweaver even go further than that. Whereas you can't exactly be doubling the power of a chill necessarily, and so on. So there's like, even just that as a random thing, like Ignite doesn't have enough love right now for sure. So even if it was meant to be those 3 ailments are a point of comparison, I mean, shock is kind of a little bit crazy right now compared to what the others are capable of doing. Not to say chill isn't strong, not to say freeze isn't also obviously powerful. They will have their time, and they may have already had their. I mean, we had freaking cast on Comet on crit for a while there, and all of that as well. So, it will always change. But yeah, I mean, just bringing some of the shock back and some of the other just little outliers here and there was a first step in the direction. But it's very important not to just do I hate lightning, goodbye lightning. It's like be easy to do. It's the wrong thing to do, for sure. So.
Yeah, people also like playing lightning. I think
exactly.
I think it's just the feeling when they like playing their cold builds and like it's better to convert to lightning. That's why I think that's when it becomes more problematic. You kind of mentioned, you touched on the fact that you feel like Ignite needs some love. I feel like with damaging ailments, there's a fundamental thing maybe that's causing problems where it's scaling with like hit damage and crit, so directly, I guess, in this case, differently to how it's been done in the past, where it leads to maybe, in addition to it being a bit weaker, feeling like just kind of an add-on, like Ignite's not really a thing. I don't really have a pure Ignite build. Ignite's just like a bonus added kind of damage on top.
Yeah,
of like
it's a bit flat, honestly. I agree. We've had heaps of discussions here about all kinds of different options. We had some boil down to whether or not we're going to do keystones. We want to do something. We just haven't landed on exactly what we want it to be and how, whether or not it's like we change the base versus change it through, again, a keystone or something you spec into. But yeah, it is a bit flat, and it doesn't have enough, it is, as you said. It's just, here's a bit more DPS, I guess, at the end of the day. And then even there's limited ways of kind of scaling it, and I'm not going to say there's none. There are some, but it's not enough. It's overall, I'd say it just hasn't got enough love. So, but we want to.
Backtracking a little bit on the gearing, we touched on crafting a little bit, and so I love 0-3 crafting. Like, it was such a huge change from like a game that some would joke didn't have crafting into some of the most powerful and interesting crafting we've had ever in Path of Exile. I think like it's right up there. 0-3 crafting was amazing. Like the combination of the core currency changes, the changes to essences was really good, and how these things interplay with some of the omens and the abyss crafting even. So like definitely felt like some things were a bit illegal, and just the overall like how good it was. Like I don't know, like, oh no, I feel like this is
fand, ob wir
illegal.
am Abyss-Crafting noch mehr gemacht haben, so. Das Map-Crafting haben wir gemacht.
What of that was illegal, or is illegal, or is being...
Well, you said essences, so we talked about essence of sorcery.
It's not like we're gutting anything or anything like that, right? There's just a few illegal things.
It's a few.
Yeah. Are you pretty, you like overall, like, where it ended up?
I think it's way better than it was before.
Yeah,
100%.
Great.
Yeah.
It's what I found playing, and obviously, and collating a little bit of data, but, it's the kind of thing where I don't have enough data to go and, or enough feedback to go and make some sweeping change, is that people find that getting the, it's too easy now to get to the absolute upper echelons of gear. Is what I kind of honestly, and I assumed that there'd be a bit of a public civil war about me saying that, because I could see people going, no, that I love it that way, and a bunch of people going like, well, I'm completing my characters way too fast. Right, I got nowhere to go. I got no, I want to play for longer, and I have nothing to spend my time doing. Like, it's done. My character's finished. And I could see people being very binary on that for sure. But but then it's like, you know, how much of that just comes down to homogenizing, for example, and a few different axes like that.
I think a fair amount.
And but yeah, I know there's other problems, like for example, because of the high tier currency, there's a little bit of like you don't even need to pick up tier 5 rares anymore, because what you actually want is a base type to craft from. And so in some ways it's wrong in that regard, for sure. Like if people feel that way, that's probably not good. Yeah, and then there was some other things with the essences that went wrong, like for example the essence of haste, being able to craft melee tiers of attack speed onto bows. It's not alright, right? That's better than what a bow can even yield. So like now a dropped bow can never be the best thing in the game because there's an essence that can go in high value. That's not intentional.
Bleibt ein bisschen Crafting. Bleibt an sich, nur dass ein bisschen Map-Crafting kommt raus. Und dann sicherlich noch ein paar Sachen gestrichen, kann ich mir gut vorstellen. Aber da stehen die Patch Notes. Gehen Sie vielleicht auch noch darauf ein, jetzt, die noch mehr gemacht haben.
The thing that like definitely hit me the most that I want to get more feedback on is the people just going, it's not, there's no point in picking up T5 rares eventually. Because
ja, das Map-Crafting wird da wahrscheinlich mit einfließen.
I would rather just craft from a white base and I can more guarantee that it's going to be good, and so what's the point? But yeah, there's a bit of that, and so, but again, it's very important with these kinds of things not to just like, yeah, that's obviously right, let's just change everything, and now item gearing is just ruined, because you could very easily undo with a lot of the good that 030's crafting added, so yeah, fine-tooth comb, being very careful with it,
yeah, okay.
for sure.
So it sounds like definitely getting rid of a few specific things. Like Omen of Homogenization was a pretty clear one. I think that was like seemed hyper illegal, as well as like some of the specific essences.
Ich spiele die Patch Notes durch. Ja, da
like
warte ich gerade.
Currencies, you feel like you're pretty happy with that overall?
I think overall I like them. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And like the essence changes in general.
Yeah, for sure.
And what about abyss craftings now that that's going core? Is that like changing a lot? Because that I think played a pretty important role in giving you some interesting decision making in crafting.
It's not changing very much aside from the removal of waystone crafting from it.
Yeah,
sure, there'll be a few number changes around.
Yeah, just little bits here and there. Well, I mean, inherently we have to, because we buffed staff prefixes, we have to go and look at everywhere that adds equivalent mods and make sure those are increased as well. And so, like, either way, there's some overflow effects that just kind of happen due to balance changes all over the place. But nothing like no significant change to that at this point, for sure. But that's still there when you're playing through, even though it's core, when you're playing through the campaign.
Das war bei mir.
Much like you get the world map icons, or it's like, oh, there's things here. We've got a bunch of areas where there are abysses.
A few.
I think it's 6. And each give throughout the entire campaign. Each will give a crafting thing, so you have at least 6 guaranteed campaign crafts.
Oh, great. Awesome.
If you explore and do the areas, and you can see it on your world map if you've done it or not. And so you're giving you a bit of that throughout. So we don't lose that the league had. And then in-game, sure, use your tablets and then start running it. And
awesome.
You want to get the crafting, yeah.
Well, I'm amped to hear that, like, overall it seems to be fairly intact then, because I was definitely a huge fan of, like, the direction crafting's taking there. So, and I'm excited to see it getting built upon with, like, the Sacrifice of the Vile stuff too. Well, the new Vile stuff. Excellent news. Alongside that, we had the addition of asynchronous trade, and both things obviously very powerful for gear acquisition, raising both like the kind of floor of like what's considered your like baseline gear. What's your 1 exalt gear basically goes up a lot, but also like getting it more accessible to get to, like to craft or to obtain the really high end gear. How much of an effect have you seen in terms of like players kind of making the game easier? Like has
mal gucken, wie flüssig ich meinen Fischer Warrior spielen kann.
Like reaching their final product earlier.
It's really hard to tell how much of it is the trade system and how much of it is the crafting changes. Like it's actually really quite hard to disentangle.
So what about as an overall picture?
Yeah, I mean, look, but at the end of the day, it's like the crafting system the trading system as it is something people just need to have. So like we just have to, work within that.
Die Einlage von meinem Schuh verloren.
I'll tell you, like, if we have a in-game itemization problem, we're not going to go and say we need to nerf trading.
Good.
Right.
We're past that. We can put that in our review mirror. Excellent. Yeah, so the question is, like, I guess now more just adapting over to that. I'm just curious, like, as to how extreme it has been, because it seems like it would be absolutely massive, like crazy. But
it's honestly quite hard to tell, as I said, due to the other changes.
I guess it's like a longer period thing to analyze.
But then at the end of the day as well, you could say that if this is a feature we need to have, then it doesn't necessarily matter. Like, we just need to work with it and just deal with it. So you know,
I know in the past there was a fear, and this kind of touches on crafting a lot, where if people could craft like really good gear super easily, they would stop playing. Like the player retention would go down. I feel like in some cases we've seen some of the opposite phenomena. Like there is, to an extent, the opposite phenomena where like people gain access to the builds they want to play. They gain access to content they might not have otherwise in a more reasonable time frame for them. So their engagement and the amount of time they play ends up going up as a result. In a surprising twist.
That definitely can happen, but at the end of the day, like retention is exactly the reason why we do it. It's because we sort of feel like if we did want to make getting the gear harder, then the reason we would be doing it is because we don't like the feeling that you can get and like, I don't have anything else to get. You know what I mean? Like that would be the reason to do it, not necessarily because of retention reasons. You know what I mean? Like it's more about the play experience, to be honest. Because you know, when it comes right down to it, like our model has always been, we want to keep you coming back every league. Like we don't necessarily care how long you play a given league for. We just want to make sure that each time you play a league, you're enjoying your experience, that you want to come back and play the next one. So you know, that's kind of our philosophy on that. So you know, retention isn't directly a thing that we're like optimizing for exactly in that way.
Players hyperfixate on that.
Yeah, it's more about retention from league to league. Like what are we doing? You know, like how many players do we get back for the next league, as opposed to how many players do we get back the next day?
That's interesting. Yeah, I guess because we have like Steam charts, we get hyperfixated on retention numbers.
I mean, it's not like it doesn't matter either, right? Because you can, on some level, judge the success of how much people like to league based on that.
Yeah, it can tell you how much fun people are having.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, what people are saying about what they thought about it is actually more important than the number of people actually playing it, because like that, you know, as long as they're like happy and they want to come back, you know, then we're happy.
If you have more fun in a smaller amount of time and then you're more happy to come back next league, then that's a win, isn't it?
That isn't necessarily a problem, right?
You may have played less this league, but maybe...
So they're kind of a little bit unrelated in some ways, but also sort of related in others, you know?
Okay, well, it'd be interesting to see how this continues to play out then, the crafting, trading thing. I'm super interested in like the economic aspects of that.
Right.
But it's definitely had a big impact, and on the whole, like 0.3 felt like a huge net positive for both crafting and trading.
Agreed.
So good.
Yep.
So good.
Agreed.
All right, well, we'll keep. I'll ask about that like everything. I think 'cause it's like where do you guys feel it's at now? Yeah. What about now? Can we scroll to the end? Thanks. There we go.
Der liest das irgendwo ab.
We had just a couple
Ich meine, can we scroll to the end?
One in chat, but it's not really a question. People just type
Oder schau in den Chat rein einfach.
But I don't really actually know what the context for that is.
Lesen in Live-Chat oder was?
No.
It's the speed at which you move.
Very insightful. Thank you. Maybe you guys could type an actual question in chat. I'm just saying instead of just chanting, but
well, I mean, adjacent to that, one change we have made, which is kind of interesting, and I think it's a kind of I don't know if the general desire is more or less of it. I suspect you'll find a bit of both. But irrelevant of that, like a change we made is there's lots of in-game runes where you can now only use one of them, and it's quite interesting because obviously before it was like the double socketable effect on boots, put all the removal speed runes in, and it's like, well, great, now you got, and you know, it's kind of interesting, but it also meant that generally what was happening is every single slot was just stacked with the same rune type.
Zweimal tat es man Serious oder dreimal.
Being used in different things, and it's kind of enhancing that. But yes, it overall makes the amount of movement speed you're getting from boots lower at the end game. But those were like very, very, very expensive. So.
Das werden wenigstens interessant. Die Bewertung von Bühnen sieht auch cool aus.
What else is not much else has really changed
kind
there.
Of like a rehashing of the discussions of like
okay.
mandatory move speed on boots versus like implicits and things like that. I've always been a big fan of like a little bit of implicit movement speed on boots as you go up or something like that. But I know you guys are happy with like having move speed be an important stat on boots. Like,
yeah,
I guess, and maybe some people just want more move speed, but
I mean, some people always will.
That's a thing, yeah.
There's probably some people that want to move
faster.
It's just less. I think there's some people who might want to have a less mandatoriness to have to move so fast as well to some degree, but
I've been more on that side of things, like maybe make some of the maps a little smaller so move speed's less important. I feel we don't like mandatory mod items on. It was that topic. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Thanks team. Just confirming that. Yeah, I feel like that's been discussed fairly well at this point. Yeah,
we're at the same stance on that really. Which is, it's interesting because technically, if we end up acknowledging that is wrong in the context of staffs and wands, then we might have to reevaluate why it's right in the context of movement speed. You know, it's an interesting thing where one discussion might yield the other because it's kind of a similar problem in both contexts. And we might end up who knows what side of the fence we're going to land on, you know what I mean? So
I've seen Acolyte of Chayula get mentioned a lot. I have not played that class, so I can't
Level die
speak to it
Vendors
too
als Weapon
closely,
Breakpoints
but,
haben.
is that...
Keine Ahnung.
We've done number buffs at the very least, yes.
Halt immer, wenn
I
sie
think
nächst
almost every
bessere
CDC
Base
class has
geben.
some level, like, honestly, some of it is like
Da musst du quasi auf die Level von den einzelnen
change,
Bases
some of it,
gucken.
like, for example, Pathfinder's got 2 whole new
Denk ich mal.
notables, and like we got rid. I mean, Pathfinder just did that. We got rid of the poison spreading notable because it's pretty much Herald of Plague, and we just put the 4-pointer to the 2-pointer, so you get the actual more powerful spike one for cheaper. We got rid of that like multi-choice ailment mitigation, and we were like, wow, it's the Pathfinder, so let's do some cool passive tree stuff. So pulling some inspiration from the PoE 1 Scion, the Pathfinder can now also
bessere Waffe
allocate
ist ja
passives
bessere
from
Base.
either the Witch or
Im
the
Endeffekt
Warrior
halt.
start points.
So funktioniert es ja.
You know, for just like, you know, doing some crazy builds. And I think there's even a new notable on there where normally you have your highway nodes and it's like 5 dex and strength. There's also now 3 other options for the Pathfinder can take that node, and now there's 6 choices you can do on your travel nodes. So it's like, oh, I don't want as much attributes. I'll get instead damage. I think it's damage defenses and like cost efficiency or something. So you can kind of like better balance how much damage you want, defenses you want, or reduce. So it's like another kind of cool, interesting thing. So yeah, I mean, that's a class where it's gotten a bit more changes. Acolyte is numerical for now. But again, we want to do something grander with Chaos. It's on
There's quite a lot of just monk
list.
generally improvements as well, just balance-wise, right?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, every class has kind of got
Been pretty
changes everywhere.
in the thick of it.
I think the patch notes currently lacks. We have a thing where we're doing a bunch of changes to specific monsters for being spected.
Okay.
Like when we actually looked at it, we're like, look, if we just increase Spectre overall, it's going to increase the specific specters. Like we want to increase the amount of the pool of viable monsters for different cases. Yeah. So here's the thing. Now it takes it from a skills balance team into the kind of monster balance team situation, and like such a different resource. So we're going to start doing that process where we try and do like, you know, 5 to 10 from here and here and here and here per patch, and kind of just start trying to get them to be more viable. Specifically as specters, and honestly you'll find most of the time it's just changing the cooldowns and changing the AI to be like not, because normally they're just like, I have to care about a player and maybe some minions are there, but honestly sometimes they just don't even care about the minions. They're just like, nah, there's a player, right? They assume there's a player because generally speaking there is. And so now when they make a specter version, well, there's no player for them to target. There's, you know, only monsters, and so they might be just making some silly decisions about how they're targeting and when they're using their skills and stuff like that. So want to do a bunch of that, but those won't be in the patch notes because the intention's that we're still doing them. I don't want to release a half-baked set of patch notes for that. The other thing is I think we're still doing, I've held back from the patch notes, I've held back a bunch of the minion occult, specifically a bunch of changes around command skills and stuff like that, just because I want to just do a little bit more iteration before we release that. Couple of Ice Ranger changes. I think that's like a massive improvement to the Ice Ranger kind of play. I mean, using the existing skills, a lot of numerics, a lot of changes to ice fragments, stuff like that. What else is not in there? There's a few other bits and pieces not in the patch notes, and that's because all of our stuff is, and that's just not to say there's nothing changed. I've just taken them out for now because I want to make sure they're right. Otherwise, we have to give some false information and then change it, and it's not great.
You've been updating the patch notes over the course of a week now, so people should still probably expect that.
Yeah, for sure.
Initial patch notes coming.
I know they were like, I mean, I think we ended up changing something
Keine
like 80
vollständigen
different
Patch Notes.
unique items or something like that.
Sick.
Again, mostly focusing on endgame ones, boss ones, mythic ones, working our way down the rarity. So like more of the ones that are meant to be higher value and meant to be higher effort. We've demoted some to be more common. We've promoted some to be rarer, stuff like that. And done a whole pass. But even then, like I know last night we were like, oh, there's like kind of 5 or 6 here that we're like maybe on the fence about. Let's, to be safe, pull them out, discuss them, reevaluate them, and then pull them back in the patch notes afterwards. Just to be safe, because again, I don't want to mislead people.
I saw a question about that from our resident summoner expert in chat. But the monster changes, like for making specific changes to monsters for specters, does that end up in patch notes? That seems like pretty hard to track.
It will this time.
Nice.
Well, I I don't think we've done much in the way of actual specific monster changes this time around, but this, what I was talking about doing will, yes.
Okay.
It just, what I'm saying is it won't be in the initial set of patch notes because we haven't finished them yet. So, but they will be, like, I think the patch note says, will be in a post later this week. Or later, in the week coming. So
a funny one in chat I see is like, when can we get more melee variety? I'm like, you guys literally just added like a new melee weapon. Like, I don't know if you guys know, but the talisman's a melee weapon.
No, melee is never right in any game ever. No, I mean, because it's kind of true, right? Like,
there's a funny phenomenon right now where it's like, whenever we talk about melee, people say that like there's literally only maces in the game, and it's like quarterstaves are over in the corner crying. It's like no one pays any attention to it. It's like doesn't count as well.
But
it's like a half-ranged weapon, I guess.
Stormwave really melee, then you get that.
There's always this funny exception with it, but like ultimately, I think what it comes down to is that the game doesn't have swords.
Yes,
yet.
I know.
Is that,
I know we need swords. Yeah, I get it.
We need swords.
We need swords.
So swords are from talking to you, it sounds like swords. Swords are getting
Schwerter ein bisschen rumwirbeln.
At some point we will have swords. I can promise you that.
Yes, it's the importance is understood. It seems it's a bit too fundamental, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Those are a bit cool.
But yeah, I mean, we were talking about the ascendancy. So yes, a lot of numerics, some more broader changes. Some getting a little bit, some getting a lot. Like just because it's getting a little bit doesn't mean we think it's in the right spot. At the end of the day, we've just started going. Like Smith and Katava got a decent amount of changes.
Nice.
Kind of a lot better now for sure. We like over nerfed it. But yeah, lots of like around the. I mean, honestly, like I want to say 90% of all the balance changes are probably in the direction of taking underplayed and underpowerful things and making them a bit better.
Nice.
That isn't to say that we've successfully made, like maybe at the end of the day, lightning archers are still somehow better than ice archers at the end game. But certainly the gap has narrowed and you'll feel less bad for playing one over the other, and less bad about decisions. And so that's ultimately the goal, and we'll get there eventually. But yeah, huge step in the right direction, I'd say. But yeah, and then things like Outer Louis, all those outliers on the top end, those are coming down a bit, for sure. Sometimes more than a bit, depending how extreme they were. Culmination's another one where like just having an uncapped combo thing when you get damage per combo. I mean, and then obviously you can just one-shot everything in the game at that point, so that's a problem as well. Some of these outliers 100% brought into place, given caps, whatever the case is, but again, more like 95% of all the changes that we're trying to make is bringing up the underplayed things to be a bit better, and just to all kinds of varying degrees. It's really hard to. It's like, do you just do everything across the board and try and look at everything and give everything a minute, or do you really hone in on one build? And right at this point, we're trying to do a very widespread. Let's look at literally every skill and go, is there a decision we can? What would we do? And it's like, it would require this huge rework. Okay, instead of waiting for that, can we just do some numbers for now? Do the rework later to really give it what it truly should be.
Also Stream schauen lastet mich aus und so. Ich bin noch längst nicht fertig.
Bench that thing for
Vielleicht
a
in
later
einer Woche
time when
sagen
we
oder
have
so.
more time, and then move to the next, do the same assessment, and then we just try to do that for literally everything.
The Balanced Ninja Squad is currently focusing on clear speed, it sounds like.
Yes, but for things
Und machen die
that
3
are
Wochenende.
not already, up at the top tier, generally.
Right. We're getting quite close to patch notes, so we'll rapid fire some things off here. It seemed like at one point, like druids were going to have claws as their weapons, so that has obviously changed to talismans. Or
that might have
they
been
were like
a long time.
That was actually for the huntress.
Oh, okay, weird. Yeah. So it sounds like claws.
Ich habe ja immer grob gesagt, Blende.
Probably not.
Ich muss sagen, gerade bin ich ja nicht so müde, dass ich ja nicht mehr klar denken kann.
Yeah, alright, cool. Hot swapping between controller and mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, something I promised every single time.
So
and yet somehow we still haven't done it yet. So what I can say is that it is actually, we have an implementation of it. We're not shipping it this time, but it's much more close than it was last time. Like, there's just some stuff that needs to happen, but like, it is a thing that has been seen on a programmer's workstation as to work. But yeah, there's still a bit more to do. But yeah, like next time, I know I've said this twice before, but next time we will definitely have that. I know it's a weirdly huger feature than it seems, because like the code was just originally not written with that in mind at all. And it's just requiring a lot of re-engineering of a whole bunch of existing UI to be able to get it to work.
Looking forward to it, so I can
I know,
actually do inventory management.
I know. We will have it, but yeah,
controller inventory. Oof,
yeah.
No.
But yeah.
Okay, good news. It's being worked on daily. It sounds like. Do you have like a rough timeline for full release, or not ready to announce that yet?
Don't really have it to announce, but I mean, look, I certainly don't want it to be 2027. Like, I really want it to be next year. Like, I really do. So, you know, like it'll be. I really want it to be next year. But
we certainly underestimated the amount of work we wanted to. Certainly by having to make all the leagues constantly and all of that. And I know some people might be like, just don't. But like,
you need to do.
We want people to play the game still and enjoy it and, you know, do what we want to do. But so, yeah, you get this thing where we severely underestimated how much extra time it would add.
Your rule of cool of like, we want to do the 130 extra passives because it's cool. I mean, that has an expense.
Yes, all of this does get in the way technically, but...
I mean, look, at the end of the day, we're not going to release until everyone's happy.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Yeah,
that's
true.
That's
what needs to happen first. So, you know,
it's a good trade-off.
Yeah.
With the performance improvements, which looked like really impressive, even more than the 25% you're saying, like looking at the side-by-side footage was like, it looks even better than that.
Yeah, I mean, look, we did 25. I said 25% as a commitment because like that's kind of like I want to make sure, like, look, people are really sensitive to the stuff, so like I wanted to make sure that we're not over-promising.
Under-promise.
So under-promise and over-deliver was the plan, but effectively, like, I've been focusing a lot myself actually and trying to like make sure that it's getting better. Effectively, what we've done is, I mean, obviously there's just sort of traditional optimization that happens, but a lot of it is just effectively making sure we're multi-threading things better, taking advantage of more CPU cores. If you're GPU bound and you don't have dynamic resolution turned on, then it obviously won't affect you because you're GPU bound. If you've got dynamic resolution on, so you know like GPU is not so much of a concern, then CPU was definitely a problem for just about everyone. Like even really fast CPUs were having issues in in-game mapping. So the goal really was to make it so that, you know, like when you've got a lot of shit going on, that your CPU is not overloaded. We did that by multi-threading things much better than we were before. And, you know, just, traditional optimization, just lots of improvements there. Like now... there's so many things that are working better than they were before. Like in many cases, honestly, you see double frame rate, like just straight up.
Awesome.
But as I said, like not consistently in all cases. So and consoles obviously saw a huge improvement. They consoles just have weaker CPUs than PCs do.
Läuft.
So therefore, when you're doing CPU optimization, consoles
muss auch viel installieren, einstellen und mal richtig auf
just
zocken und
a
streamen.
lot better. Now, one of the things I'm a bit worried about is that by multi-threading more things, you can run into multi-threading bugs. And so there might be, hopefully not, but there might be some more crashing going on when we first launch, just because, like, you know, like the thing with multi-threading is that, like, depending on the exact scenario, different things can happen at different times. It can cause some issues. I'm really hoping we don't run into that. We're trying to do as much.
Even still, occasionally you guys are still just finding
ridiculous
things that, like, we just made it a whole nother chunk faster.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Just because of some just ancient thing.
It's we definitely still find some crazy stuff, and like it's going to be a lot better.
I expect it's just going to keep going as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. So that's the other thing is, like, I want to spend even more time on getting this exactly right. We're not even at the point, like, when I'm looking at it now, I'm like, we could still theoretically make this quite a bit faster than it even still is.
You've been personally like really on this every time.
I have. Just because it's been such a big issue, and you know, like I wanted to actually get back in there and spend a bit of time on it. And as I said, like already it's so much better now. But we'll be even better than that.
Awesome, fantastic. It's great news. Patch notes are here.
All
so
right.
we will end there and let
no
people
one's interested in listening to us anymore. They've got the stuff.
Everybody's gone. No, thank you very much, guys. It was a pleasure to talk to you once again, and I look forward to checking it out and going and playing some more.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here.
Alrighty, thanks for the questions, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for watching.
I don't watch cameras on, so I'll just look at you.
Look at all the cameras.
Right.
Ach, da geht mir mal kurz weg.
The patch notes directly. There you are. You're welcome to read them with me. Please, no spoilers. I'm going top down. Yeah, let me.
So, das machen wir aus. Patch Notes. Blender hat die reingepostet. Ich mache ein bisschen Musik an, dass nicht ganz so durch ist. Boah, ist glaube ich ultra laut die Musik, oder? Boah. Das sind so Sachen, die ich alle noch einstellen muss. Ich habe zu lange weiter, ich bin so müde eigentlich. Aber ich muss da, ich will kurz darüber fliegen eigentlich nur. Weil ich bin viel zu müde sonst. Ich bin viel zu müde, wirklich. New Content Features, edit new playable character class, true, skills. Added over 10 new unique items. Ist der Core Mechanic. Reserved Vertebrae no longer drops. Welches war das nochmal? Von den Dingern? Das, was die ganze Zeit gedroppt ist. Ach, das ist für Waystones. Ah, okay. Ja, das Waystone-Ding. Gut. Gibt Sinn. Tailwind now grants 1% increase movement speed, 2% increase sail speed, previously 3. Base unarmed attack now is schneller. Rage generation now pauses rage decays. Physical damage reduction from armor can no longer cause a hit to deal 0 damage. It's mostly targeted at preventing a case where multi-hitting player skills could deal 0 damage to armored monsters at very low levels. Oh, okay. Igniting aura effects to the ignited ground no longer apply infinite ignites. Instead they apply regular ignites. Standard duration. Ascendancies. Wind Ward has been removed. Sagen, ich habe keine Ahnung, wo der da, ich habe es noch nie gespielt. Wo ist er now? Was kenne ich denn für Sachen? Welche Ascendancies kenne ich denn? Amazon habe ich vor kurzem erst gespielt. Elemental Search reworked. Grand Skill Elemental Search. And provides when you consume a charge, trigger Elemental Search to gain 3 lightning surges. Searching Avatar reworked. Now provides when you consume a charge, Elemental Search to instead gain 2 cold lightning. Okay, ich glaube, ich habe mit der Elemental Search auch nicht gespielt. Warbringer. Floating impacts now also grants fully broken armor. You inflict increases all damage taken from hits instead. Ancestral Warhorn minions have okay. Offensive jetzt close up enemies. Titan, das ist das, was ich meistens spiele. Surprising Strength has been removed. Crushing Impacts now also grants 25% more damage against heavy stunned enemies. Added a new Mountain Splitter Ascendancy passive skill, which grants every third slam that doesn't create fissure. Use yourself cause 1 additional aftershock. Ahead and to each side initial area requires. And to each side of the initial area. Every third slam skill that doesn't create a fissure to use yourself cause 1 additional aftershock. Aftershock ahead and to each side of the initial array. Okay, das klingt so für so Area-Effekt-mäßig. Klingt für Dings cool, für Earthquake. Für da haben sie ganz viel geändert. Should not be connected to a Smith Kitawa Master Effect notable now grants plus 200 to armor in addition to its other bonuses. Okay, ein paar Sachen removed. Cause your body armor to gain 6% increased glory generation, 100% increased thorn damage, 30% increased spirit. Und die haben irgendwie noch mit 25 gezeigt. Reduce crit damage taken by 100%, previously 50. Reduces critical damage taken by 100%. Okay. Now cause the body armor to grant the bonus of being unaffected by all damaging ailments. Das ist halt auch krass, denke ich mir. Fire spell on melee hit. Skill granted by Heater Fortress now costs no mana when triggering threatened spells. It now also gains 10% increased damage per level. To 20% increased damage. Gem Level 20. Haben nicht viele benutzt mit dem Fire Spell on Melee Hit. Fate of the Wahl League, das ist die neue Standard League. Ja, Fate of the Wahl ist die neue League. The Temper Weapon Skill bei against the Anvil. Das ist mit dem Hammer da draufschlagen. Der Compost ist. Manifest Weapon Skill, die Dinger waren auch ziemlich scheiße. Now changes targets less frequently and just spends more time actively attacking additionally. Okay. Für den Blood Mage, Zombie habe ich alles auch nicht irgendwie gespielt. Die Tactician spiele ich gerade. Da gab es diesen einen für die Artillery. Artillery besser, no longer grants 40% increased mobilization build-up. Now grants 20% increased skill speed. Falls bin. Okay. Siege Weapon no longer grants 50% increased damage against immobilized enemy. Now grants 25% more damage against immobilized enemies. Mortar Cannon now grants 25% of damage against. Ah, das ist von dieser einen. Ja, geht das extra Fire. Von 15. Added Spell Totem to Embarkment Aura. Ja, Spell Totem grants 50% increased Crit Chance. Ja, das ist dieses Ding, wo man für jedes Totem verschiedene Effekte bekommt. Ich finde, die müssten das buffen, wo deine Totem schießen, wenn du schießt. Das war ziemlich cool. Nur da müssen die ja mit deinem Tempo mitschießen. Da müssen die mit deinem Speed skalieren. Das wäre cool. Stelle ich mir cool vor. Denke ich halt so ein bisschen an Marauder, die HND3. Aber die schießen viel zu langsam halt, die Totems dafür. Chancen so riesig da durchzublicken ist schon krass. Ja. Wann geht es bei dir morgen los? Wieder 1 bis 2 Stunden vor Serverstart. Die 3, ich muss sagen, ich kann es nicht sagen. Also aktuell bin ich so ultra fertig. Ich will noch beim PC Sachen einstellen und so. Also spätestens 1 bis 2 Stunden vom Season-Start, aber wahrscheinlich viel früher nochmal oder so. Weil ich muss noch sehr viel machen oder so. Sehr viel durcheinander und viel zu tun momentan. Invoker kenne ich mir jetzt auch nicht so aus. Rift da auch nicht. Passive Skill Tree. Ich glaube, viele Sachen sagen mir nichts mehr. Kann ich vielleicht so ein bisschen so grob durchgehen. Achso, ich wollte sehen, ob sie was bei Chaos Madness gemacht haben, weil der so, Chaos Madness now grants supported skills deal 20% less damage, previously 40. Ja, weil der war der Debuff bei Chaos Madness war so hart, dass sie den reduziert haben, ist sehr gut. Haben die Rakiatas Flow genervt? Weiß nicht, ob Rakiatas oder was mit C geschrieben? Raki. Ne? Ne, wurde glaube ich mit K geschrieben. Hat glaube ich nichts gemacht. In der RAK-Such. Wo war ich hier? Gibt es irgendeinen besonderen sonst noch? Der wurde genervt, oder? Ja, dieses, wie heißt es? Dieser Buff da wurde genervt. Tailwind. Hat Nerfs bekommen. Added Nova Projectile 2, causing supported skill to gain 6 additional projectiles, deal 50% less damage and applying a cooldown time for 8 seconds to supported skill. Okay. Oh, Sachen umbenannt. Irgendeinen besonderen, der mich noch interessieren würde? Ja, ich glaube nicht. Skill Changes. Spectre, ist hier irgendein Skill, mit dem ich gerne spiele. Ja, das mit dem Wind. Das ist ganz cool. Ancestry Cry, Volcanic Eruptions, now deal tank damage, general triggers volcanic steps. 2 Meters. Dieser neue, der Ancestral Cry. Ancestral Warrior Totem no longer has 25% less totem attack speed. Oh, cool. Harmon Breaker. Hm. When two trenches are consuming the parry buff at gem level 8. Disengage habe ich mit Help benutzt. Explosive Spear, damit levelt man bei der Hand, das habe ich am Anfang. Now gains +1 limit of Lodge Spear every 8 gem levels. Ah, okay. Finish shot and power deck explosions now deal attack damage. No, 1% ja, das mit +1 Limit, das ist schon cool. Bei Winter. Schubidubidu, vielen Dank für den Prime Sub, Dankeschön. Frostwolf, Frostbolt. Herald of Thunder now has an attack damage of 40 bis 122, previously 47 bis 143. Ist genervt worden. Ein bisschen. Lightning Arrow. Ist hier ein Nerf? 7.200% of physical damage to lightning damage, previously 80. Protector now converts 80% of physical damage to lightning damage, previously 40. Das ist ein Buff, ja, oder? Also ich meine, ich glaube, die haben gesagt, die haben Lightning Rod genervt. Limit of active Lightning Rods allowed is now 10, previously 20. Oh, Perfect Strike. Haben sie immer wieder gebufft. Der war immer so scheiße jetzt inzwischen. Now die ist 157 bis 340, hat Vertical Damage, previously 140 bis 312. Auch wenn nochmal ein bisschen bufft. Hat er 5 bis 20. Also Mini-Buff. Perfect Strike hätten sie das Attack-Speed wieder erhöhen können. Seitdem wir so ultra lange braucht zum Aufladen, ist der richtig eklig zu casten. Shedding Palm now causes an explosion if the target dies while you're dashing to them. Naja. Shield Charge Condition now is it decreased damage. Okay. Siege Cascade. Alter. Standardhöhe und Base Attack Speed. Volcanic Fissures. Now die ist for Attack Damage, wie sie. Oh, wurde gewafft. Fissure. Nice. Okay. Unique Changes. Grand Spectrum. Now roll 6% to all elemental resistance per socket at Grand Spectrum. Und der ist auf 4 Variant, previously 4. Oh, guck mal, den habe ich 3 Stück gefarmt letzte Season. Sandstorm Visage, das ist auch hier von Zarok. Weakness. Ist ja irgendwas, was ich kenne, so grob vom Namen her. Soft Blood ist das, ja, minus Fire Resistance. Enemies in Presence have minus 25% Fire Resistance, previously minus 10. Oh. Das ist das, was auch Prozent live hat. Das was now has 50% Fire Resistance, previously 30 bis 40. Ist gut, was hat Prozent live und minus Fire Resistance. Ist echt gut für Warrior, so am Anfang. Beziehungsweise hat mein Warrior, glaube ich, die ganze League jetzt angehabt. SSF. Hab mich gar nicht angeschaut. Zur neuen League. Wie zufrieden bist du von 1 bis 10? Ja, schon viel zufrieden. 6, 7, 8. Ich kann es nicht genau sagen. Ich muss die Patch Notes so ein bisschen lesen und mir nochmal klare Gedanken darüber machen. Ich bin heute, also die letzten Tage ziemlich fertig oder so. Ich kann gar nicht so mir klare Gedanken machen momentan. Das mit meinem PC und das Zusammenbauen und so, das hat mich ziemlich fertig gemacht. Ich habe letzten Tage wirklich jeden Tag 2 bis 3 Stunden oder so geschlafen. Bin komplett am Arsch einfach. Ich muss jetzt mal eine Nacht endlich richtig schlafen. Und dann ja. Da rattert irgendwas am PC. Hat irgendwas ein scheiß Geräusch. Plötzlich. Das klingt nicht gut. Moria Invictus. 10 bis 50 Spirit, Field. Haben die generell gebufft hier. Resis, die Attribute. Lebenswert gebufft. Mana. Chaos Resistance, ja, eigentlich alles gebufft. Die ist cool, ich mag die Chest. Nacht, Cubex. Namen Tobias. Was auf die 4 hatte ich verflüchtigt. Diesen hab, Tower- und Rangliste kommt das nächste Woche, nächstes Jahr, ja. Läuft der PC? Ja. Ja, hat irgendein Geräusch reingegangen. Ich weiß nicht, ob ein Lüfter rattert. Klingt so, als ob ein Lüfter rattert. Group of Polymer has had many of its modifiers ranges buffed. Das ist der Ring, gell? Rune sockets have been renamed to augment sockets. Non-dual items that go into augmented sockets have been renamed from socketables to augments. Okay. Warum eigentlich existing augmentados have been renamed to idols? Achso, weil die Waffendinger jetzt Talisman-Dinger heißen, die vom Druiden. Sachen umbenennen. Runes Rune of Chase is limited to 1. Das ist die Movement Speed Rune. Übrigens.
Die Geister stehen euch bei.
Schaut da, vielen Dank für den Raid, aber ich muss sagen, ich bin in wenigen Minuten schlafen. Ich bin komplett im Arsch. Also hier gibt es keinen wirklichen Stream mehr. Test, wo man keinen Spirit hat, wurde auch geändert. Ich weiß nicht, welche Test das ist. Wenn man keinen Spirit hat. Wie ist der neue Rechner? Ich konnte jetzt noch nicht testen. Ich streame jetzt gerade das erste Mal drüber, aber ich habe noch kein Spiel gespielt oder so oder richtig viel sonst testen können. Aber vielen Dank und hallo an alle. Ich gucke eigentlich nur kurz hier so ein bisschen rein. Die Soul Costers, die mal gelimit sind auf 1, das ist ein bisschen scheiße oder so. Hier, wenn ich hier Kitterkottel Soul Core oder so, das ist, glaube ich, ist das der für live? Oder das war. Ne, das war Jiquani, war live. Kitterkottel ist, glaube ich, Elemental Damage für Text, das ist nur für die Waffe. Achso, das heißt, die Rüstungsdinger sind vielleicht extra nicht gecapped. Vielleicht sind nur die man gerne in Waffen reinmachen kann, gecapped. Ja, Kitterkottel war Elemental Damage für Text. Return Ability now against 10 chance to inflict damage exposure instead of lightning exposure. Ja. Die vorhin die ganze Zeit droppt. Nobility bei hier vor allem Megalithen. Surpassing chance for an additional arrow. Bisschen immer reingeschaut zwischendurch. Hardware immer gut. Muss nur alles jetzt noch gescheit laufen. Oh, die haben ein paar Hammer gebufft. Hammer Bases. Okay, den haben sie reduziert. Okay, sie haben ein paar Hammer Bases genervt. War Warrior zu stark im Leveln, weswegen sie die ganzen Sachen hier genervt haben? Haben den ganzen Base Damage schon gedreht bei den ganzen Maces. Aber hier Crit Chance gebufft. Immerhin. 5 auf 8. Perfect Essence of Battle now gains plus 3 auf all attack skills on one-handed und plus 5 on two-handed. Damit es halt nicht mehr war, ja, plus 6 war halt schon ziemlich stark. You can make your item worse with a Divine Orb. Ja, danke für den Hinweis. Aber dann läuft's, ja. Ja, ich will die D3-Season eigentlich schon halt jetzt hier mitspielen natürlich. Roots from Grace, now with 8% increased deflection rating by moving instead of reduced movement speed penalty. Ja, das war mal nicht so geil. The deck has a modifier on amulets that granted skill chance to consume glory. Wurde geändert, okay. Added a relic locker to every end of floor reward room in the Trial of Sycamore. Aha, sehr gut. Und ich direkt seine Relic da reinballern kann. Weil das ist das Einzige, was irgendwie gefehlt hat immer. Das ist eine Kiste, aber das ist nicht dein Relic Locker. Okay. Light footed can no longer acrobatic grants trap steal reduce damage. Jetzt trap steal reduce damage. Ich weiß nicht, was Light footed gemacht hat. Keine Ahnung. Endgame Challenges. Maps no longer scale pack size. Achso, ja. Das hat er gesagt. Das ist ja Kram. Aber der Fashion no longer drops a rare corrupted tablet. All tablet modifiers would roll Achso, das sind jetzt ganze Tablet-Sachen. Ich würde ja hier Experience. Now grants 10-20% experience gained in maps, previously 5-20. Ach, die haben aber nur die Min-Rage hochgemacht, von 5 auf 10. Okay. Auf Concrete, das ist für Bosse 40 bis 80, von 20 bis 80. Naja, da wollte ich nur mal kurz auf reinschauen. Das interessiert mich immer. Player of Worth Atlas passive has been removed due to greed when it's no longer being available. Of my head and the mirrors, the matches have been swapped. Okay. Wastelands can no longer be installed by liquid emotions. Ja, hatten sie gesagt. Delirium no longer has a reward bar indicator. Instead, Delirium monsters have a chance to drop liquid emotions. Okay. Das hatten die, glaube ich, nicht gesagt. Delirium bosses have a guaranteed liquid emotion drop and an increased chance to drop higher tier liquid emotions. Boss waves in the Simulacrum also drop a guaranteed liquid emotions with a chance of being a higher tier liquid emotion. If it's then no longer required to unlock Vault Maps. Items will be deleted. Ah, das ist diese für diesen Ding auf dem Berg. Für diese komische, für die Bleeding Bosse. World of Kazama Unique Map chests are no longer affected by Party Bonuses. Okay. Waren sie das anscheinend? Remove Camera Zoom Out on Completion of Tower Maps. Ah, dieser Zoom Out. Ich fand den aber irgendwie mal lustig. Add an Objective Icon for activating all checkpoints. When a player activates all checkpoints, ja, dann sieht man die ganzen Icons auf der Map, haben sie gesagt. Removed Breach, Ritual, Delirium and Expedition from Map Legend and they no longer have icons. Ja, ja gut. Ja, wissen wir. Monster Changes. Proof Visibility. Made various improvement to Rogue Exile Behavior. We enabled Rogue Exiles. Closest Lightning Brush skill should no longer hit with 9 projectiles at point blank range. Genau, mit Town Portal in Allrods Arena after he has been defeated. Ja, das Problem gab es aber noch bei noch ein paar mehr Stellen. Ich glaube, so bei ein paar Map-Boss-Arenen auch immer, wo man da mal rausgehen muss. Oder beim Megalied konnte man in der Mitte auch kein Portal öffnen immer, wenn man durch war. Was denn, der wird schon richten. So, muss kurz in die Küche, falls wir uns nicht mehr sehen können. Nacht, jo, Nacht. Schau mal. Ja, Microtransactions, Bugfixes. Ja gut, viele Bugfixes. Was mich interessieren würde, wenn ich hier Strongboxes eingebe. Haben die den Bug, dass wenn man Strongboxes mit Strongbox aneinander geschrieben? Ja. Dass wenn man Strongbox anklickt, dass man da nichts mehr machen kann. Ist nicht bei den Links dabei, bei den Bugfixes. Kennt ihr den Bug oder so? Ich habe das so oft. Du klickst eine Strongbox an. Das ist eine Strongbox, die dich freezen würde, aber nicht freest, weil du zum Beispiel einen Charm hast. Und dann kannst du da laufen, aber du kannst keine Skills mehr casten. Nie wieder. Gar nicht mehr. Dann bist du so komplett bugged. Du kannst nur laufen, sonst nichts machen. Dann musst du ins Menü gehen, wieder Ingame gehen und kannst wieder agieren. Diesen Bug hasse ich. Und der ist schon seit 0.1 da. Das erste Mal, wo ich gespielt habe, in den ersten Mal Strongboxen ist mir das passiert und das passiert halt bis heutigen Tage noch. Und einmal stand es in den Patch Notes nämlich drin, in den Bugfixes, dass es angeblich gefixt wurde. Aber ich habe es weiterhin. Seitdem. Darauf hoffe ich immer, wenn ich hier Bugfixes sehe, weil ich spiele gerne auf Strongboxes. Ich gehe da gerne so drauf im Atlas Skill Tree. Ich mag das so. Researcher Strongboxen halt für ein bisschen Currency. Aber der Bug nervt halt extrem. Ja. Ich weiß noch nicht, ob das vielleicht so ein Roll-Bug ist oder so, weil ich muss eigentlich rollen ja immer, weil ich vielleicht in dem Moment rolle, wenn ich halt darauf drücke auf die Strongbox oder so. Ich glaube, Sinon hat das auch öfter gehabt und der rollt nicht so viel. Ja. Okay, also, overall muss ich sagen, als kurzes kleines Fazit, der Druid sieht richtig geil aus. Die Druid-Skills sehen echt nice aus. Ich werde mir Druid nächste League anschauen, aber ich werde nicht mit Druid starten, weil ich ungern mit neuen Sachen starte, weil sie potenziell irgendwie bugged oder OP oder underwhelming sind. Ich warte gerne, bis da 1, 2 Hotfixes oder so drüber gelaufen sind und tue dann im Laufe der League mir irgendwann mal einen Druid anschauen. Heißt aber nicht, dass wir nicht vielleicht sogar Druid-Skills anschauen mit anderen Klassen, wenn man die Druid-Skills teilweise halt einfach stärker und so brauchen. Man kann auch so ein bisschen so Dual-Wielden-Sachen machen. Andere Weapon-Slot wechseln und mal gucken. Ich weiß noch nicht genau, was ich spielen soll, aber die League-Mechanik sieht sehr schön aus mit diesem Labyrinth, was man sich selber zusammenbaut und so. Und den Räumen und wie die dann nochmal miteinander synergieren, doppelt corrupten und so. Obwohl eigentlich echt cool. Bis es jetzt im Corden. Ja. Also ich bin sehr zufrieden. Ich weiß nur noch überhaupt nicht, was ich spielen soll nächste League. Ich weiß gar nicht, was ich spielen soll. Ich teste ja momentan so ein bisschen jede Klasse. Ich habe noch nicht jede Klasse gespielt. Gerade bin ich beim Mercenary dann. Den Test werde ich auch im Laufe der nächsten Woche noch zu Ende machen und dann noch das spielen, was ich im Final spielen will. Damit noch ein paar Testruns machen. Jetzt hier am Wochenende kommt erstmal Diablo 3 Season dran. Da wird kurz reingesuchtet sozusagen, bis 150er Push. Was ich jetzt halt noch machen will, ich will mich jetzt gleich erstmal pennen legen, weil ich halt so echt fertig bin. Wird wieder dasselbe bei dir. Na gut, letztes Jahr, ich habe bis jetzt jede League mit was anderem gestartet. Ich habe nur dann wieder auf Warrior gewechselt. Aber jetzt habe ich ja ein paar mehr Klassen getestet und auch mit ein paar mehr Klassen mal das Endgame gespielt. Deswegen, es wird irgendeine von den Klassen sein, die ich bereits gespielt habe. Es wird keine sein, die ich noch nicht gespielt habe. Das ist halt entweder Warrior oder ich muss sagen, der Mercenary lief auch gut. Ich muss sagen, vor allem fand ich halt die Huntress halt mit am besten. Huntress hat mir halt echt viel Spaß gemacht. Dann werde ich die vielleicht nämlich auch wieder spielen. Also, ich werde irgendeine Melee-Klasse, irgendeine Attack-Klasse halt spielen. Ich mag nur die Caster-Klassen, glaube ich, allgemein nicht so in PoE. Ja. Deswegen, da würde ich mal schauen, ob ich da irgendwas Tolles hier noch finde, was irgendwie gut passt. Ja. Ja, vielleicht wird es auch Warrior, aber das weiß ich nicht. Ich muss sagen, bei Warrior habe ich jetzt wenig Neues gesehen, muss ich sagen. Auch so ein bisschen Buff halt zu Fischer Warrior. Könnte ich nochmal spielen, aber ich weiß nicht, ob ich das nochmal spielen will. Gut. Ich weiß nicht, wann ich morgen online bin. Ich werde halt noch, also ich muss halt noch mehr Generaltests machen. Ich will noch meine Builds für die 3 Season hier, Wizard, Necro und WD will ich noch zurecht machen, halt Planer sozusagen, aber das will ich ein bisschen im Stream machen, weil ich da selber manche Sachen unsicher bin und ich gucke ein bisschen ins Leaderboard rein und da stellen wir ein paar grobe Planer-Links. Und ich muss einen Generaltest machen und ein bisschen Leveltest machen in D3, dass auch alles läuft und dass halt auch im Stream alles läuft, dass die Lautstärken und so alles richtig eingestellt sind. Und dann will ich auch mal alle anderen Games durchtesten. Normalerweise will ich morgen D2, D3, D4 testen. Ich werde ein kurzes Video zu PoE machen, aber das werde ich auch halt morgen früh machen. Und dann einmal alle Games, die ich sonst halt immer so spiele, kurz durchtesten, dass die Einstellungen, die Steuerung und die Grafik und so alles richtig ist und einen kleinen Auslastungstest machen. Ja, und auch schauen halt, ob streamerisch alles läuft. Werde ich morgen Mittag oder so halt machen. Und vielleicht werde ich mich danach nochmal kurz hinlegen und dann ready sein für die D3-Season. Ja, also ich werde da irgendwann morgen online kommen. Morgen früh irgendwann gibt es ein Video, wenn ich mal ausgeschlafen habe. Was der Druiden-Tree daneben, ja. Das ist ja das Coole mit den Druiden und Warrior halt nebeneinander oder so. Da kann man natürlich ein bisschen rumprobieren und ausprobieren. Potenziell den Titan kann man also man kann alles auch mit einem Titan spielen, einfach nur, wegen der 50% Boost-Node für die Small Passive Nodes. Ja, gut. Dann würde ich mal sagen, an der Stelle, vielen Dank fürs Zusehen. Ich gehe jetzt pennen. Ich bin extrem, extrem müde. Ich habe heute kaum was gegessen. Aber wir sehen uns. Vielen Dank fürs Zusehen. Bis dann. Ciao. Ja, mein Stream Deck geht auch nicht. Kann ich nicht damit nicht meinen Stream ausmachen.